Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 3 of the Intermission Podcast, the show where two film students discuss classic, iconic, and obscure films from times gone by.
Hey.
That was such a phone person voice.
That was such a I don't want to be here.
That was such like that was such like a news person thing where it's like, this just in, 12 people have been found in the bushes of, I don't even know where I was going there. That's
probably Hartlepool.
In Hartlepool, more at 5. We're your hosts, Oscar W. Fitchett.
Robbie Tweedale.
And before we get kicking again with this episode, I've got a little thing to correct about. I realised as I was watching the film that we're going to be talking about, as I was watching this last night, The Godfather Part II, as I was watching this, I realised in the very first episode of the Intermission Podcast, I got a name wrong in the sense of like the character association. I'm not sure if you know who I'm thinking of. In episode 1, I announced that. Well, I did announce. What am I on about? I'm not like. I mistakenly said I thought that Clemenza was the name of the guy who Michael shot in the restaurant. That's not the case. I discovered Clemenza is the big guy who works for the Corleone family who said, leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Yes.
I discovered that last night when they warned about Clemenza in a quite affectionate way. And I thought, that's clearly not who I thought it would be. So I thought I would just throw that out there now.
Yes.
Just to rid any more confusion. I think that's all I've got on. We received a comment on the very first episode.
Have we?
Of the Intermission Podcast. Let me load it up for a second. I don't know why I didn't prepare it. But so I thought I would take the time to respond to it now.
Does it call us idiots?
No, actually. I'm not even going to read out who it was. I'm just going to tell you, Robbie, the comment, and then I want you to guess. Right.
Well, guess who it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
The comment reads, rate this, lads, on standby for the Michael Bay episode.
All right, Sam Burt.
Yes, it is.
It's 100% Sam Burt. Do you know why I know that, right? Well, it's A, because it's Michael Bay, but also because he messaged me just before we started recording this, asking us to talk about his Lego video. So
I like how he messages you and not me.
Yeah.
We dared do it to me.
He said, if you do a full episode talking about my latest Lego video, then I'll listen to this full one. And I said, I'll mention your Lego video, we're not analysing it.
A full-on analysing video So, shout out to Samuel Burt.
Yeah, go look at his YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Why not? I'll leave a link in the description. Why not? Check it out.
There you go, Sam. You're happy now, you big prick.
To which the answer to that, Sam, is we'll talk about Michael Bay when he makes a good film. Anyway.
I mean, I'm gonna comment about The Rock on this one.
I'm gonna, and then I'm waiting the comments to be like, oh, Michael Bay's got 2 films in the Criterion Collection, though. It's like, yeah, shut up, though, but...
Yeah, alright, whatever.
Shut up. Anyway, what is the start of this episode?
I'm loving it.
Right then, now back on to some seriousness to an extent. This episode of the Intermission Podcast is going to be us discussing the 1974 crime drama, The Godfather Part II, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, written by Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo, and the film stars Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, Talia Shire, Morgana King, John Cazale, Mariana Hill, Lee Strasberg, Michael V. Gazzo, and Robert De Niro as a young Vito Corleone. And the plot synopsis of The Godfather Part II, according to IMDb, is
So
the
ready.
early life and career of Vito Corleone in the 1920s New York City is portrayed, while his son, Michael, expands and tightens his grip on the family crime syndicate. I think it's safe to say that IMDb is better at doing plot synopsises than Letterboxd.
Yeah, that was pretty close. Yeah,
I'll
give him that one.
A few accolades that The Godfather Part II holds is that it has a 98% on the tomato meter and an audience score of 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 9 out of 10 on IMDb, making it number 3 on the top 250. It has 4.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd, positioning it at number 5 on the top 250 on Letterboxd. It's number 32 on AFI's top 100, and on BFI's Sight and Sound top 100, it holds the number 31 spot, tied with Taxi Driver. It is a winner of the Writers Guild of America Award for Best Drama Adapted from Another Media. Excuse the police car if you can hear that.
They're coming to get you, man.
They found out.
They found you.
It won a Directors Guild of America Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Motion Pictures. It was nominated for 4 BAFTAs, including Most Promising Newcomer for Robert De Niro, Best Film Editing, and an Anthony Asquith Award for Film Music for Nino Rota, and it won 1 BAFTA, including Best Actor for Al Pacino. It was nominated for 6 Golden Globes, including Best Original Score, Best Screenplay, Best Most Promising Male Newcomer for Lee Strasberg. Fun fact, Lee Strasberg, who played I forgot the character's name, the older guy, Hyman Roth.
Yeah.
He was technically a newcomer because he was a theatre practitioner. And this was one of his, and I think this was like his first feature film, but he was a very well-known theatre actor. And quite acclaimed theatre actor. I think he was like a teacher to James Dean and Marilyn Monroe. He was quite influential to a lot of actors. Anyway, it was also nominated for Best Dramatic Actor for Al Pacino, Best Director, and Best Drama Picture. And the film was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, including Best Costume Design, Best Supporting Actress for Talia Shire, Best Supporting Actor for Lee Strasberg, Best Supporting Actor for Michael V. Gazzo, Best Lead Actor for Al Pacino. Fun fact, Al Pacino became the 3rd actor to be twice nominated for an Oscar portraying the same character. The other 2 were first Bing Crosby and then Peter O'Toole. And it won 6 Academy Awards, being Best Original Dramatic Score, Best Art Direction, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Director for Francis Ford Coppola, Best Supported Actor for Robert De Niro, and Best Picture. So, this film, Godfather Part II, is of course highly acclaimed, as just read all that there. And a lot of people throw it up there as if they don't, like, it's become more of a thing recently where I'm hearing more people say they prefer the second film over the first film, whereas when I was first getting into films, when I was like 16, I always heard the first one's the best and the second one is still great but not as good.
And we don't talk about the third.
And yeah, you know, except we will in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But so it's, you know, it's a battle amongst, not even really a battle, it's a civil discussion of which one they prefer, whether it's the first or second film. Before my second viewing from last night, I'd only seen this film once, a few years ago, and I've watched the first one more than this one, and now I've seen it a second time in anticipation for this podcast. Robbie, this is your first time.
Yeah, never seen it.
When did you watch this? For my own curiosity.
Last night.
Yeah. So,
it was, I watched it last night. I filmed with my sister all morning, and then watched this, and then met Julia, and then came home and edited the video that I filmed earlier that day.
What a packed day, Robbie.
It was really fun to see Julia. And the rest of it, I'll leave it up to you. No, I'm joking.
So, let's go into our initial spoiler-free thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I'll throw it out there. Just a quick little thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I still prefer the first film. That's still my opinion. I still much prefer the first film over the second film. Okay. I think this is an absolute achievement in filmmaking. I think it terrifies me to try to imagine constructing this film. Yeah. And I say that because it's such a beast of a film in every sense of the imagination, in terms of script, in terms of a script sense, like story development, in terms of the amount of actors, the amount of locations that this film would have had to do within this film. And it is one of the greatest films ever made. I will say it, in terms of a complete non-biased sense, it is one of the greatest films ever made if you're going from a technical point of view. I still love the film. I love it. My minor problem with the film, and again, we can discuss it more in depth, I do think it's a bit inconsistent with the pacing. Yeah. And again, we can go more into it, but the amount of good in it, I think still, it obviously outweighs any negativity towards it in my eyes. Robbie, your initial, just spoiler-free thoughts.
So, I think I may change my mind on this, because I often do this, where I say something and then I'll change my mind as the podcast goes on. I think I prefer this one to the first.
Interesting. Okay.
It's very much a film, obviously with it being set in both the past and the present. It's a film of two halves. It's very much two stories happening, and one of them hit better for me than the other one did.
Same. I'm curious if it's the same one for
us.
Yeah.
But I think although the pacing's kind of it's very off sometimes. The pacing kind of slows right down, especially when it gets into that second half, and it's great, but I still prefer it to the first one because it's everything that's in there, whether it slows down or not. There's never anything where I think it's wasting my time. Like, everything serves a purpose. It's just sometimes it slows down more than it should. For me.
Okay. Yeah, but no, I can see that, yeah.
Great performances all around, really tight script, really good story. Really enjoyed it.
And let's let that feed into our spoiler-free positives on the film. I'll throw it in there. It's the performances is the first positive you have to give this film. Like the first film, it's the performances are absolutely fantastic, I think.
Yeah, there's one specific one that I want to touch on to praise.
Okay.
You go first, though. You go first.
I was like, my highlights are Pacino. I think Pacino is, of course, I mean, he's the film. Yeah. I mean, it's him and De Niro, really, if you're going off. But the Pacino sections are more... There's more of Pacino than there is De Niro in this film.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that it like, Pacino is the film, I think. And I think that's a big reason to why the film is really as good as it is, I think. I think that... I think De Niro is another big praise in this film, I honestly think. I think he does a brilliant job at being his own performance, but even still feeling like a younger Marlon Brando.
Yeah, he's very clearly that character, but younger. He does a really good job, not just with the voice, but with the mannerisms and all of it. Yeah, really solid.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time I'm saying it on the podcast because it's the first time he's in a film that we're talking about. But De Niro, I've come to a conclusion as of like last year that De Niro might be my all-time favorite actor.
Right.
Just because I think, like, when I think of all the films he's been in, I mean, he's had some duds, but I think in terms of overall films that he's been in, he's always been so fucking good in all of them.
Yeah.
This film, I think this film, I think Taxi Driver, I think King of Comedy, I think Raging Bull, I think Goodfellas, I think even Silver Linings Playbook, where I think he's really good. I think Joker, the small part he's in there, he's really good in that. I think The Irishman, I think there's so much. I haven't seen The Deer Hunter, so that's why I don't say The Deer Hunter.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's a one I want to get to.
Yeah.
But and of course, and I haven't seen Mean Streets. I still haven't seen a lot of De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
But of everything that I've seen him, most things that he's in, he's just got this like, again, just this raw, just like energy about him.
Yeah.
And just like he completely envelops the character without coming across pretentious and wanky about it.
Yeah, like it's not that he's doing an impersonation.
No, yeah.
Of Marlon Brando. He's doing his own thing with it, but it's so rooted in what that character was in the first one.
Yes, definitely. And another actor, and another one that I think there's three main standouts for me personally. I think it's Pacino, maybe four. I think Pacino, I think De Niro, and the other one, John Cazale.
Yes,
Fredo.
So this is the one that I wanted to talk about specifically. Mm-hmm. Every time he's shown up in a movie, he's shown up in the two that we've done for the podcast.
He's shown up in all of the ones that we've talked about so far.
Yeah. So I've wrote down a specific note, because usually I'll just, I'll make fun of his forehead and we move on, right? But I like when I saw him for the first time in this movie, I just got a note in big capital letters saying "big ol' head," right? But little did I know that man would steal my heart this week, and I will actually refer to him as John Cazale instead of that dude with the big forehead, because he gets so much time to shine in this movie. Like there really is opportunities for him to really show off how good he is, and he is so good in this movie.
Yes.
He was easily the standout for me.
How he wasn't one of the many supporting actor nominations, I don't know how.
No, I have no idea.
I don't know how he wasn't in there. I don't. You know what? I don't even know how Robert Duvall wasn't even nominated this time around either.
Yeah,
because he was excellent as well.
Yeah,
brilliant. And also, right, here's another thing as well. I like Talia Shire in this film, but I don't know how she was nominated and Diane Keaton wasn't.
Yeah, there's a scene later on in the movie where you're like, she's good, isn't she?
Yeah,
she really is good.
Again, we'll get into all of that because there is one specific scene where John Cazale almost had me crying.
He did make me cry at one point.
It might be the scene that was. Is it towards the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be the scene that was. But God damn it! But yeah, so acting overall, brilliant. I think I can't think necessarily of a weak performance, but I don't know.
No, I can't. No. I mean, like there's characters like Connie doesn't really get much to do.
No.
Really, but that was the same in the first one. But she's still great when she's in it. Like it's not like it's a weak performance. She's just doesn't get much to do.
Even young Clemenza and young Tessio, I thought were brilliant in those.
Yeah, they were really good.
They were great. It almost made me kind of want to see I kind of just wanted to see a full film of young Vito, young Clemenza, and young Tessio. Just in their journey. I kind of just wanted to see that film. Because those three actors had brilliant rapport off each other. And again, we said how like De Niro felt like a young Marlon Brando. I think both of those actors felt like the guy who played young Clemenza felt like younger Clemenza. Yeah. And even the guy who played younger Tessio, he felt like a younger Abe Vigoda performance.
Yeah.
Like it was all... Like, it all felt like that was really cool. And again, we can get more into the acting as we get on with spoilers. Another positive I do have to say, because I have it in my notes here. Where is it at? I put cinematography / colouring oofed.
Yeah.
Like, it was the start in Sicily.
Yeah.
And it was just that. And I was like, oh, God damn. It's just like...
Yeah.
That's the Godfather look. And that's the thing that will always make it unique. In any film, I think that tries to have that style, like the exact, like that colouring, it's just always going to be, that's Godfather lighting.
Yeah,
that's
it's always going to fall flat compared to this.
It's just, there's just something so prestigious about the look of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there was one specific shot which opens a scene at a dance No, obviously no spoilers here, but that one shot as soon as we transitioned into it, I thought, God, that's so good.
Yeah.
The colours like this black, white, and red just really sticking out. It's top stuff, really.
Yeah, and another one I've got here is the score obviously slaps. That's legitimately what I wrote.
It didn't stick out to me as much as it did in the first film.
No, I would agree there.
But it's still so good. I mean, that the Godfather theme, it only ever stuck. It might have been played multiple times, but it only ever stuck out to me as playing once in the whole thing.
I've got it. No, it mainly started, I think, in the opening.
Yeah.
It's mostly in Sicily scenes. It's mostly in the De Niro stuff.
With the stuff with De Niro, yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess that almost immediately associates the theme with Don Vito Corleone, not the Godfather itself.
Yeah, because Michael does appear to have his own theme throughout it. He has his own little musical cue that keeps playing. Yeah,
it almost kind of plays off. It kind of plays off like when the theme starts playing, like with De Niro. It almost gives that sense of nostalgia. Like it gives that nostalgia to you thinking about the first film, and in retrospective, that inherently brings nostalgia to an older time period for Vito.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think that works well. And again, at some point, set design is gorgeous. Specifically, the stuff with De Niro scenes. Like there was like many times when, like just when we weren't in Sicily, we were in mainland Italy, I think.
Right.
Because he escaped Sicily. He left Sicily when he was a young boy.
Yeah.
So I think we were in mainland Italy. Whenever we were in that time, I just kind of had to like sit back and just be at awe with just the look of everything, because it's like how like the costumes and the set design and like the blocking. It's just all like quite like it's quite awestruck, really.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's one of those movies where as soon as when you started studying film, like us two prestigious people, well, once you started studying film and you're looking out for things like that, you just take a completely new look at it. It's really like well done, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like once you know what to look out for, you understand why it's as acclaimed as it is.
Yeah, definitely. And any more positives you want to throw out, Robbie? Spoiler-free wise.
Yeah, there's a lot to me. In this one compared to the first, there's a lot more standout sequences. Like sequences as a whole, that stood out to me as being like, oh wow, that was a really great scene. All that kind of stuff. There's parts in the first one that just kind of, now that it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen it, they all kind of blend into one little bit. But this one, there's really is some standout sequences. My favourite probably being something that takes place in Cuba, which we don't need to talk about yet. But
yeah, I've got a list of my highlighted scenes that I think are the highlights of the film. Again, all of them are spoilers, so I'm not going to get into them now. I think that I'm not going to say specifics. I think it's Coppola at it once again with an amazing ending to a film, I think, in my opinion.
That final scene is brilliant.
Yeah, in my opinion, that is a quintessential ending. I think that is probably better than the end of the first Godfather.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah. And I love the way it begins. I love the how we get introduced to the film.
Yeah.
And also, this is the first film on the Intermission Podcast that we're talking about that has an intermission.
It did, because I had to watch it in 2 discs, and I was fuming.
You watched it on DVD, did you?
Yeah, I was real comfy in bed, and then all of a sudden it was just insert disc 2, and then slapped me straight back to the main menu. I got really annoyed.
Since I've got the Blu-ray, it all fits on one disc, so it just comes with an intermission title card. So I just put it. That's the one thing I love. There's something so inherently beautiful about an intermission where you could just have a bit of a break from a film. Because I did that. Like, it had the intermission card popped up. I paused it. I went to the toilet. I went and got myself a snack and a non-alcoholic cider. And then,
nice.
And then I came back up and I sat back down and just watched the last hour 20.
Non-alcoholic because we're technically working when we're watching these. We do this for the people.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a schedule. I wonder how many people legitimately think we just like randomly load up Skype one day and go, oh, and then let's just talk about this.
Yeah, no, we planned this in advance, and it makes it even more annoying when I'm trying to like have fun with this and lay in bed. Can you imagine how comfy I was? I was so happy with myself. I was just sat chilling, got my Star Wars duvet pulled up to my chin, and I was looking at the telly, and then insert disc 2. God damn it. What's the point? It's not like my Goodfellas DVD is worse because it's the same disc, but you have to eject it, flip it over, and put it back in again like a vinyl. It's real dumb. I don't understand it.
Double-sided discs are disgusting.
It's ranking. Anyway, that was a tangent.
Yeah. Is there any negatives that we want to say spoiler-free wise? Because again, my own one is, again, I do think the pacing.
Yeah, it's just the pacing.
It's really, that's it, in my opinion.
But I can't really explain why the pacing had that effect on me without going into spoilers.
Yeah.
But so the pacing, it does get a bit slow at times, would be the only negative that I really have. And also, the two stories that are going on didn't mesh for me. They felt like two very distinctly different things.
You know what? I can agree with that. Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like they shared... Because usually when a film's split into an A plot and a B plot, they both serve to show different perspectives of one theme that the film's trying to talk about as a whole. And they didn't seem to connect in any way through themes, for me anyway.
Do you know what? Kind of genuinely, right? The De Niro stuff feels like it would have fit a lot better within the first film.
Yeah, after the assassination attempt. Yeah, start moving in with it.
And it interweaves in when Michael is in Sicily, and we go back and forth between that and that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say this goes into the pacing technically, but is just out of curiosity, is there an extended edition of this film?
Right. I don't think there's not an extended edition.
Right.
However, what I was about to say, I can't find it anywhere, but I know fine well that I think in 1978 time, late 70s, they released a mini-series of the films. I think it was called Godfather, a motion picture novel or something like that.
Right.
And it was episodic. It was the films in chronological order.
Oh, right, okay.
So episode 1 is young Vito in Italy and going through all that, and then we then go. It's literally all the scenes, but in chronological order.
All right. If anyone that does know what that's specifically called, do comment it, because I'd like to have a look at that.
I try for years, Robbie. I've been trying to find something of it, and I can't find it, but. It apparently happened, and from what a lot of people have said, like that's like almost the definitive way to see it,
right?
Because it's like, but it's like I wish it's a bit more accessible.
That's really interesting. I mean, I only said about an extended edition though, because sometimes in this movie, just things kind of happen. Like from scene to scene, you get to a point where it's usually switching between the two plots when it goes back to the past. Things have happened and there's kind of no explanation. You go, oh, I guess we're up to here then. And then when it goes back to Pacino, there's other things where you're like, okay. I guess this happens then. With like no explanation, it kind of takes you out of it a little bit, takes time to adjust.
Right. It's called The Godfather Saga, but the original title of it was The Godfather, a Novel for Television.
Right.
And it's apparently The Godfather and Godfather Part II were re-edited together in chronological order with additional footage added. So there is also additional footage within there.
Okay.
So, and it's, again, I don't know how it's viewable.
It'll be somewhere.
It happened in 1977.
Right. Okay.
but that's interesting.
That's really interesting
to me. And I think with that, as opposed to us just kind of like dilly-dallying around. No, before that, this is still technically spoiler-free. Which section did you prefer? The Michael or the Vito?
Michael.
I preferred Vito.
Ooh. Ooh.
Okay. On that cliffhanger.
Okay. Yeah, into spoilers we go.
That I think because I can just feel we're talking about it. It's like, well, we clearly just want to get into it. So for anyone who hasn't seen The Godfather Part II, switch off now. We're going to be discussing spoilers of The Godfather Part II. Again, if you're in the UK, Godfather Part II is on Now TV if you have a Now TV subscription.
Yeah.
So go for that if you want, or literally just buy the Blu-ray
Come
or DVD
back later.
or whatever.
If you haven't seen it, come back later. We'll be waiting for you.
Yeah, literally just us sat right now in real time,
Yeah,
just waiting.
we'll just sit here and wait. We've got all day.
You know what? We'll wait 3 hours and 22 minutes right now for everyone to just.
Okay.
Never doing that.
Right. No. Let's pretend like we have. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and we're back. Well done. How did everyone enjoy the film? Boom.
Lovely credits.
If someone paused it, then spot on.
Please tell me if you did. Right. Spoilers now.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Why do you prefer the Michael scene over the Vito scene?
Right.
Film. Sections of the film.
So.
Because I honestly would have thought you would have preferred the Vito thing.
So no, because the stuff with Vito, as much as I loved Robert De Niro's performance, I thought he's amazing, and I liked the backstory that they gave him at the beginning. He's basically Batman.
No, I've legitimately got this right. Not necessarily Batman. In my notes, I've got Solo wishes it could be Godfather 2.
I made a reference to Solo. It's the bit where he comes in, and I honestly was like, holy shit, they're gonna do a Solo, because I thought it was gonna be what's your name, and he just says Vito, and it says where are you from, and he says Corleone. They go, oh okay, Vito Corleone. I thought that was what was gonna happen.
Vito, where's your family? I have no family.
Vito
and then
Solo.
he says randomly, I guess Corleone then.
Yeah. Well, where you from? Who are your people? Corleone. Oh, Jesus. I wrote that down. I can't remember what I put. But yeah, it's just... That whole backstory stuff I really enjoyed. So, what it was that annoyed me about it... Not particularly annoyed me, but... When I was told what this movie was going to be, I thought, first of all, I thought a lot more of it was going to be the De Niro stuff than it actually ends up being. It is mostly set with Michael in the 50s. But the stuff with Vito, I wanted to see how he grew this, like how he got into the world of crime and how he grew his family and all this kind of stuff. You don't really get that.
No.
It kind of just glosses over it. Like, he's a regular dude working in this grocery store and he knows of this guy, the Black Hand. And then you cut to Michael for a bit, and when he get back to De Niro, he's just sat in a car with this Black Hand guy, and I go, oh, well, how did we get here? You don't find any of it out, and it kind of, that was what I wanted. And so the whole sequence with Roberto being this guy who's kicking this woman out, who's a friend of Vito's, out of her apartment, and then he starts to realise who he is, and he comes back and he's apologising and fumbling, and it's very funny when he's trying to get out of the door. It's really good. I have
some cool trivia about that.
Oh, right, cool. But yeah, all that stuff, that was what I was excited to see. With the early Vito stuff is when he starts to get that kind of thing, and the way that it looked was like he had a smile on his face after the guy had left, as if it was like the first time something like that had happened and he'd been recognised for who he is now. Like, yeah. I got that was the kind of stuff I wanted to see with Vito, and you don't really get it.
No, that's fair.
And then I just enjoyed the John Cazale stuff too much.
Yeah. I think the thing that I loved about the De Niro stuff so much was the atmosphere of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess because it kind of made me get vibes of a film that came out 10 years later called Once Upon a Time in America, which I briefly mentioned, which is the Sergio Leone mob film with De Niro. That goes from that spans from around about the same time period all the way to the end of the Prohibition era up until the 50s.
Right.
So I love that film, and that has a really nice mafioso feel to it.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of associated those two films with similar vibes. But I don't know. I think it's just because it's like I didn't feel those scenes dragged as much.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay. I think more of the Pacino stuff did drag than the De Niro. I'll agree with you there.
And I don't think that's necessarily fair because there's less of the scenes. So I don't know. And again, part of me also liked actually finally getting to understand the family, like who's the oldest, because we were thinking ourselves on the first film, we were like, wait, who was the oldest again?
Yeah.
It goes, it's Sonny, it's Fredo, Michael, then Connie.
Yeah, because I wrote, is Sonny short for Santino, or is that baby going to pop its clogs, is what I wrote. I thought the baby was going to die, because I was like, is Sonny short for Santino? And also it looked like a girl.
I remember I think I remember like Marlon Brando being like, my dear Santino, or whatever.
Right, okay. Spot on, by the way. That was great.
Yeah, I'm going to listen. You did this to me last time. You said like, brilliant. And then as I was editing the podcast, I listened to it, I was like, that's the worst Brando impression ever.
Oh, no.
Can't tell if you're trying to be a good friend or you're taking the piss, Robbie.
Future Oscar, I hope you enjoyed that. I think, you know when I said about before, with how I said that they don't seem to be linked thematically, there's one thing at the beginning, which is weird. It's a really weird way to do it. In the bit with Michael at his son's first communion, right at the beginning, which very much mirrored the beginning of the first one. Like, very obviously was meant to be a reflection of that. But
he's in his office and
people are coming to see him, and the senator, who was a great one-off part, by the way. I really enjoyed him. I don't know if he's in the third one, but he was pretty fun to watch. He says about Italian Americans and how it's just not the American way and all this kind of stuff, and how it's not very American what they do, and it's not helpful to the country and all that kind of thing. And so I thought that was going to be the theme of the movie, was going to be, oh, is this patriotic what they're doing? Is there something right in it? And is it? Yeah. And then when you realise that that's actually setting up the theme of De Niro's story, because he comes over to America from Sicily as an immigrant, and a lot of that in the Prohibition era and all that kind of thing was immigrants coming over for this idea of the American dream, where you can make something of yourself in America. And technically, that's what he does in the movie. Technically, he follows the American dream. Yeah. And so it's weird that they set up what I took as the theme of the De Niro stuff in the Pacino start. Yeah. And then you don't really realise that the theme of the Pacino stuff is about his family and whether he can keep his family and all that kind of thing. Until I didn't realise it until about halfway through, when he does that really great line to his mum, which was really impactful. That times are changing, when he says it in Italian and stuff. When she says, you've got... She says you'll always have your family. And he says, times are changing. Yeah. That really... Oh, God, that hit different. That really did.
Definitely. Should we go... Because I thought it worked quite efficiently last week. You go through your notes... And then whatever notes I have, we'll go through after that.
Awesome. Let's do it. I will get them up right now. Right. So...
Because I just think otherwise we're going to be an absolute mess, because I'm just thinking to myself, we're going to be going back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be jumping around all over the place. Yeah. So, of course I referenced this movie. As you know, from being my friend for a while, Spider-Man 2 is my favourite movie of all time. You know this, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
And I wrote as my first note for it that it instantly feels bigger and better, like when you watch Spider-Man 2 after watching the first one. It just straight away feels grander and
I've got it. Yeah,
bigger.
I put the film is incredibly grand.
Straight away it feels more extravagant and bigger, and that if you compare directly from Connie's wedding in the first movie at the beginning to Michael's son's first communion in this movie, it feels way bigger straight away.
Yeah, my first note I put, like, in relation to the beginning, I put it's interesting. The first film starts with a wedding, and the second starts with a funeral.
Yeah.
Like, I love the because it's almost like the first film always has that feel of almost hope, or like it feels a bit more of a optimistic film, even though it's quite, awful things happen.
Quite dark, yeah.
But the second film is even more like it's even more depressing, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Not depressing, but like because when Vito is Don, when Vito is Godfather, he always has this feel of hope to him. Michael, there's just nothing there other than like, well, it's just whatever I want goes.
Yeah, exactly. Like Vito, I thought about that actually at one point in the film. I thought like Vito seemed really laid back and chilled in comparison now. Like when you look at him as this character of the Godfather in the first movie, he seems just like a nice dude. He's just like just like your nice granddad or whatever that also sometimes kills people. But Michael is just like stone cold, emotionless, dead behind the eyes for the whole thing. Do you know what
Michael's almost like an uncle you see at like family get-togethers, and he's successul, and you go like, go and say hello to your Uncle Michael, and you just go, hi Uncle Michael, and he shakes hands with you, not gives you a hug.
Yeah, and doesn't say a word. He just goes,
he goes, hello, you all right? Yeah, good. And then that's it. You're terrified. You're like, I don't want to talk to Uncle Michael anymore.
Not again.
What do you do? He just looks scary.
But my second note is that when they're all coming in on the boat from Sicily and they're standing and looking at the Statue of Liberty, I really liked that. I just put that it got me a bit emotional because it did a little bit. I've never been to America. But it did, just like... It,
no, I have been to America. I've been to Florida. I haven't been to New York.
Yeah. Now I put and it's fully is solo, is what I wrote as the next one for that bit. For that bit where he comes in, which I thought was quite... I really liked that scene, actually. It was really good. Yeah, I liked how he doesn't say a word until the first time you see him alone. Yeah. And then he starts singing.
I was going to say, his first, like, vocal thing is him singing.
Yeah, it's him singing, and it sort of looks like a cell, but it's where he's been put. So I wrote about, is Connie remarried? She's not. Just carry on watching the film, Rob. Don't make notes when you're going to look like an idiot later on.
I mean, she's trying to get remarried.
Yeah, because that's, like, her whole thing in the movie is that she's kind of sleeping around and stuff.
She's pissed that Michael got Carlo killed.
Yeah. I mean, he's a bad bloke, Connie.
You know? I mean, he beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, he's a bad bloke, really. I mean, no one deserves to die, probably. I don't know.
Except Carlo.
I put... This is very much a mirror of the start of the first movie, but it's better. But we've talked about that. There's the theme, is it American? We wrote that as well. When the senator moves the cannon on the table, so good. Because he's kind of threatening Michael. I mean, he bottles it by the end of the scene.
Yeah.
But when he...
It's when he, like... Because it's like he goes from sitting down to standing up and then moving the cannon.
And then moves the cannon so the barrel's perfectly aimed at Michael. It's really good. Really good. I wrote a massive oof there.
I didn't write that because I thought to myself, well, obviously that's great. Like, I don't need to like say that. Like that's like blocking 101, but it's good blocking.
So good, yeah.
Yeah,
And then it's big old head in capital letters, so I got excited. Also, there's this one that like really, really made me laugh. Like I genuinely laughed out loud when the guy comes in to visit Michael and he's holding an orange. And Michael's like, get out of it.
I got it written down here, like in quotes, it's an orange from Miami, and then I just put like a eyes wide open face. Like,
oh no.
I saw it, I was like, get it out!
And as soon as Michael sees it as well, he kind of says like, what you got that for? Go away. Get out of here. So good. I really enjoyed that.
The oranges did come back. There was many more orange situations.
There was actually, yeah. And I got about how when the gunshots start coming through Michael's window, it made me jump so bad.
I shit myself.
I absolutely shat my pants. I could not. Because that is really out of nowhere. It's just, Michael, why are the drapes open? And then just straight away.
Yeah. It's
Jesus
God,
Christ.
It's terrified me.
It really did get me. And my sister came in the room after it had happened as well, because I had my door open so she could hear it, and she was like, what the fuck was that? It don't matter, man, you go back to bed.
It's alright, don't worry.
It's okay, I'm fine.
She finds you just like under the bed because you hide. It was so devastating you thought bullets were coming through your window.
Yeah.
Don't worry, leave, it's the mafia.
And then I put that Frankie dude, absolute moron, but I really liked him.
I believe that's Michael V. Gazzo, I believe.
Yeah, really solid performance. That I really enjoyed him. He was just fun to watch. He was clearly having fun with it. Like he's a fun mobster. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean,
he kills people, but he's funny about it, so it's all right. Like at least he has a giggle when he's in court and stuff.
Yeah, Frankie Pentangeli.
Oh God, yeah.
Sure.
And then this is here, right? Is I wrote down that fucking moment when you know Fredo is as dead as the day is long. Right? It's the exact moment when he says that Johnny guy showed him that place, and when he gets introduced to him at first, and he's like, "Oh, we've never met before. How are you doing?" and all this, and then later on he's like, "Oh yeah, Johnny showed me this place." I'm like, Fredo, you idiot, man! What are you doing? God damn it, man! I liked you so much, and I was like, he's so dead. I mean, it takes like 2 hours more to get there, to get to when he's actually killed.
Yeah, because I misremembered it. Again, the scene that I've been building up since the first episode, or when I was saying it might have Pacino's best performance and it gives me chills every time, is the "You Broke My Heart," Fredo. That's a highlight for me. Yeah, that scene, and I misremembered it. I thought it was a lot later in the film, but it's before the intermission, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was on the first disc. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but I thought it was a lot later, because I thought Fredo's death came later, like closer to that happening. But
Fredo's death is, well, it's pretty much the last big thing that happens.
It is, yeah.
Because it's him. Frankie's killed at the end as well.
Yeah,
he's in the bath.
Hyman
Roth is killed near the end.
In a very Lee Harvey Oswald execution.
Yes.
Type of way.
Yeah. What else have I got in my notes? Hang on. The line "times are changing" hit different. I wrote that. Yeah, and the last thing that I wrote was an extended cut of this film has to exist. The parts of it that I'm talking about, as I said before, were when it kind of just cuts to De Niro and he's with the Black Hand guy.
Yes.
It was really kind of disappointing to me.
Okay.
And also the bit where we cut back to the 50s and the mother's dead.
Right.
I know it has no relevance on the story about how she dies. The only relevance is the fact that she is, and it brings Fredo and Michael back together before Fredo's killed.
But you know
that it's false. It's not a real reconnection.
But you also know, like, when you see her in the coffin, you know that's like that's the moment. It's like, well, Fredo's death's going to be planned soon. Yeah, because there's the Mike.
Yeah, because it says
when Michael says, "Promise me something. Don't do it when my mother's alive."
Yeah, and as soon as you see her dead, you're like, "Oh no."
Yeah. It's like, well, that's Fredo's going to follow suit then.
Yeah, and the bit. But that, I'm sure the bit that you're talking about that almost got you crying with Fredo, I'm guessing is the moment that he's killed.
It's the bit when he's talking to Michael.
Right, because that's what I was. Mine was when they
in
hugged.
The boathouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was when they hugged, When Michael just walks up to him and they're hugging, and I was like, oh, that's really good. And then you see Michael make eye contact with that guy, you're like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh no. Never mind, I'll wipe my eyes because he's going to die, and I'll save my tears for when he does die. And he's doing a little prayer when he does.
Well, when he says the Hail Mary because he told Anthony.
Yeah, that's what
that's that's how I call all the fishes.
Yeah.
God. Which I'm not sure.
I'm not sure that's how it works.
Fredo's sleeping with the fishes now.
Legitimately.
Literally, Fredo's swimming with the fishes.
Yeah.
Only clocked that now. But it's the bit where Michael walks in to the boathouse and Fredo is slouched on the thing. And then it's right before Michael says, you're not my brother anymore.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's that bit. And it's the bit where Michael also goes, I looked after you, Fredo. And he goes, yeah, you looked after your older brother. What is that?
Yeah, and when he really breaks down about it all.
And he kind of go, I can't remember specific lines, but it's when, that's that is an Oscar clip if there ever was one of John Cazale's acting.
Oh,
in that
God,
moment.
yeah. He's so good. Of
him being like, everyone thinks Fredo's dumb. I'm smart. I'm not stupid. I'm like, why wasn't I next in line?
Yeah.
He basically was like, right, yeah, Sonny died. Why wasn't I the next one? Why was it you? And it was like, it is tragic. And it's in my notes somewhere, and I'll get to it when I say specifically. But Fredo is an incredibly sad character in the sense of, I mean, it's as soon as you saw his missus, at the start of the film, it's like, oh, he gets pushed over loads.
Yeah, exactly.
This clearly isn't an equal playing field.
No.
And it's so sad. And it's like, I forgot that mini conversation between him and Michael when she gets dragged away. And it's the bit as well where the guy walks over to Fredo and he goes like, Michael said, if you don't sort her out, I will.
Yeah.
And then Fredo he goes, you better do that.
Yeah, he just kind of sits down, he knows that he can't do it. Yeah,
so then he sits down to Michael, he goes like, I can't remember, but it's like, sir, he's basically saying like, what has my life been?
Well, I'm sure he goes to Michael and says, I can't control her, Mike, or something like that.
Yes, I think, something like that,
Yeah. He's so good in this movie.
Which makes it a lot more tragic. I was waiting to save this for us to talk about this specific point of John Cazale, because I'm not sure if you've done much research on the man himself.
I haven't, no.
Right. He's been said to have the greatest filmography ever, but for a very tragic reason.
Yeah.
His first film was The Godfather. Then he was in Conversation and Godfather Part II. He was in Dog Day Afternoon, which we'll discuss in a few weeks' time. That's the one with Pacino, and he was also in The Deer Hunter.
Right.
And I forgot, and shortly after The Deer Hunter, I think he died from a form of cancer.
Yeah, he died in 78, I saw that.
Yeah. So, and those are his films. He's been in, all of his films that he starred in are films that they've all were nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And it's mental. And it's not even like, oh, he's just like the supporting guy in all these. Yeah, he is, but it's kind of tragic to think, like, watching this and thinking to myself, what else could he have done?
Yeah.
Like, what else I could imagine him, like, doing some of this. Like, well, obviously, he could have done more stuff as well, but it is a tragic thing that that an actor was lost at that time, but it's also one of these things where he's clearly left a great legacy behind him.
Yeah.
In a sense, I mentioned there was a documentary that came out recently about him, and I can't remember what it's called, but I want to watch it. I know that.
Yeah.
But this film, incredible.
Really?
Like his performance in this
good.
film, incredible, and it is the bit where he's just with his nephew, Anthony, and he's telling him about when he used to go like he's still trying to keep hold of family, and even he knows it's like it's fucked.
Yeah, like when he says
fucked.
He says to Anthony, "Oh, I'll go fishing with you another day," and all this. he knows that he's not gonna.
It's like when he's like saying the Hail Mary, and he's saying it because he's doing it because he's like, oh, like every time I say Hail Mary, I caught a fish. Yeah. And he said, I'll try that technique that I taught you, and I'll tell you if I catch a fish. And it plays in two ways because he's saying the Hail Mary, but you know fine well he's doing it because he's like, yeah, I'm gone. Yeah, I'm gone now. And he's not even. He's looking out at sea. And it's almost kind of like Fredo's almost thinking to himself, if he has to go, this is the best way he'll go. Yeah. Like he had a nice talk with his nephew. His nephew will remember him as a nice man. Mm-hmm. He reconciled with Michael, even though he knows Michael. Like to him, his last conversation with Michael wasn't a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
And his last moments was fishing in the same place where, well, not in the same place. I don't think it's the same place, but he's fishing back in the same mindset of when he was one with the family. Yeah. Because he said about how like, oh, me and my brothers and my dad, we used to come fishing, and he's kind of like, he's just looking out to the ocean and just almost putting himself in that place again. Yeah. Which I think is, if Fredo's going, that's the best way Fredo would want to go.
Yeah, I think it's fitting that character doesn't go out in kind of like a gunfight or something like that with a rival gang or something. It wouldn't. It would still be sad, but it wouldn't affect you the same way as because Fredo throughout both the movies that he's in, he's never like the big, oh, I'm gonna kill loads of people because I'm such a good mobster or whatever. He is quite cowardly, and he is quite high, but like he's good at it still. Like he's a good person deep down. He's kind of like, he's a bit like Michael was at the beginning of the first film. You know, but I think everything to do with his character, I'm really enjoying this in the Pacino stuff.
Yes, no,
everything
definitely.
There. I liked the stuff with Hyman Roth. I think he was really great.
Yeah.
Although I kept kind of losing what was happening because it kept being Michael going to people and telling them certain things, but he was lying, and he lied with like 3 different lies to 3 different people, and I had no idea what was going on by the end of it.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing with the pacing to me, whereas like it felt like I was, and there's a lot of names, there's a lot of new names that get thrown out there. You're trying to figure out who's who, and you're trying to like, as a scene is going on, you're trying to put it together. Yeah,
I couldn't figure out a lot of things. Like I didn't know how that senator played into things, really, and it felt the investigation into the Corleone family seemed to come out of nowhere, unless I missed something.
I liked it.
Happening. Yeah, I really liked all of it, but I don't know where it came from.
I liked the way those scenes were shot, like they were news cameras. I like that choice of cinematography. Yeah. But no, I agree. I think that's the biggest. That's where the fault in the pacing comes from. I can totally understand. It's me. It's a personal thing, and I'm sure it's the same with you. It's a personal gripe. It's not an actual technical thing. It's just I got lost in the amount of stuff that was going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and again, and this is my only second time seeing it. I could watch it for a third time, and then I could know, like, I could follow it a bit better. And now I know it now, because even though this is my second time, I was saying to you, Robbie, that it was almost fresh for me because I hadn't seen it in such a long time, and I couldn't remember Hyman Roth, I couldn't remember Frankie, I couldn't remember most stuff going on. Now I know Hyman Roth, now I know Frankie, now I know the senator. I know names now. So I know it's probably going to be a lot. You know what? This is a film. I never like to say this with people. I never go, oh, if you didn't like it, then you just have to give it another go. Because I think, well, that's not. That feels. Yeah. But that feels a bit patronizing, I think, to people. They're like, if they watch a film that you like and they're like, I didn't like it, go, you didn't get it. Yeah. I don't like doing that. I feel quite gatekeepery if I do that. Yeah. But I do think it's one of these things where I do think Godfather Part II would be better on another viewing. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I feel like I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Because I just think there's parts of it that I just didn't understand. Like, I understood at the beginning. When it started out, I understood it was Michael was expanding the business in Vegas, and he was doing that with the help of a guy called Hyman Roth, and this other guy who was part of the family called Frankie wasn't happy about that. And then this hit goes out on Michael, and I thought, okay, and they're from New York, which is where Frankie's from, so I thought, okay, so Frankie did the hit, and then Frankie is killed but not actually killed because a police officer comes and stops it.
That's a cool scene.
It's really, really good scene. And then Frankie just kind of gets put to the back for the rest of the movie, and then it's just like, oh, Hyman Roth's the villain. And you think, oh, but what? I thought, why and how and what? And where does the Senator play into anything? Yeah. I think that was what it was. I kind of got a bit lost about an hour in. I got lost of what was actually happening with the Michael stuff. But I was enjoying everything that was happening. It's like the first time watching a Scorsese film where you kind of like, I have no idea what's happening, but I like all of it, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, that's right. Like, the film has a very consistent tone and vibe to it that keeps you interested. It keeps you interested in the world, even if you're not understanding specifics, I think, or like you're not like you're getting lost in certain things. You're enjoying just kind of like seeing these characters. Yeah. Like, it's the film, the film, like both the first two films, they just have a very cool aesthetic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That they just like you almost go back to the Godfather for the aesthetic, but you stay for like the characters.
Yeah,
I think is the best way to kind of like you go because you want to see Italian Americans in suits looking badass and the nice Italian score and the cinematography and the colors. That's what you watch The Godfather for, and then you're like, but now I remember why I really like it. I remember because I like seeing these characters, and it's definitely one of those types of things.
Yeah.
But yeah. Is that all your notes there?
Yeah, if you want to go with your notes, and then we'll talk about the ending scene at the end.
Yeah, I got more notes. I'm just going to show you a glance. I'm just showing you, Robbie, a little glance on my notes. There's there,
wow.
And there's a bit there as well.
Jesus Christ. Buckle in, everyone. Let's do it.
Some of them I've already crossed off. The first one that I crossed off, the first one that I haven't crossed off is, I think I fancy Diane Keaton now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought you did anyway. To be honest, it's been a long time coming as this revelation.
Wait, why?
That you
fancy Annie Holland? Because I like Annie Holland.
Yeah.
The Godfather.
That's exactly why.
It was her as a brunette. That's what did it for me. So that was a thing that I had an epiphany like during like the first scene. I was like, I think I fancy Diane Keaton now.
Yeah.
Next thing I got on here is Michael carries an intimidating presence with him. Like he's just always like just like it's the scene that really stood out to me about that is in the court where he's getting like frisked and he's just looking at Frankie.
Yeah.
He's just looking at him dead in the eye, just like getting frisked. I'm like, that is like, you can have that as like a gif, and that's the most badass gif ever. Yeah. I don't like, that's just like, he's not a tall man as well, but that's the epitome of like, you know what, size doesn't matter.
I noticed that when him and Diane Keaton were dancing at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a tall man, are you, Mr. Pacino? I see why you were wearing them weird shoes in The Irishman.
Yeah.
That was, oh God, I loved that so much. That photo was hilarious.
But the other bit that's very intimidating, it's that scene, and when Kay is trying to say bye to the kids, and then she just looks up and he just walks through the door, and it's like, shit, fuck, and then he just shuts the door, and it's like, and I'm just imagining being a kid, being the son, and just seeing that, I'm like, I'm not talking to Dad for the rest of the night.
Yeah. Oh no. I'll just leave him to do his work. It'll be fine, I guess.
Yeah. It's like I'm just gonna be in my room for until I see him again, I guess.
For the foreseeable future.
Until Auntie Connie tells me otherwise, I guess. But yeah, it's like he just like, I think that's what makes me really have Al Pacino's performance stand out so much. Is even when he doesn't even say anything, and he's just got something about him.
It's just the stare. It's that Al Pacino stare that he has. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's because again, a lot of people, especially recently, know Pacino more for the screaming Pacino, the hoo-ha, and the Scarface screaming thing. But people forget subtle Pacino is
really good.
It's what he's best at, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
and I love it when I love screaming, freaking Al Pacino as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even the few moments when he raises his voice in his film, where he's talking to Frankie and he's like, goes, they came to my house where I sleep, and it's like, oh shit, and then he just calms down a bit, and then he like his tone calms down a bit. He goes, in my room where my children play.
Yeah.
And it goes, It's like,
it's kind of the it's like a really good version of the old school acting technique, which was like, I'm gonna talk real quiet so it's calm, but I'm secretly really angry, and this is impactful because I was talking quiet earlier on.
Yeah. No, Pacino in this reminds me of like a scary teacher.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as like diminishing his performance, but it is, you know what I mean? Like if you have a teacher that just has like a presence about them and they just have almost a look, and you're almost scared of them just daggering you with their eyes.
Yeah, 100%.
Sir, I'm sorry, sir. Stop looking at me, sir, please. It's kind of, and then when they do shout, it's like, please no, never do that ever again.
Please stop.
But yeah, I think that works very well with Pacino in this film, and I do think it's a consistent connection from him in the first film to the second film, I think, as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though he is two completely different types of person, he's not like it. He's still clearly Michael Corleone from the first film.
Yeah, you could see exactly how he would develop into how he is in this movie.
Yes, definitely.
Very easily.
Yeah. I got in the quotes, I'll be able to find out who the traitor in my family was. Next shot cuts to Fredo in the bed.
Yeah.
Like I knew, I went into the film knowing that was going to be the case. So when that happened, I was like, that's neat. That's a clever way. And that's another thing. The editing is brilliant in this film.
Yeah, it is.
The pacing, the pacing isn't any fault of the director or editor. It's clearly, I just get, it's more of like a story following point of view.
Yeah.
I think it is. So no issues with the editing there. And I think I've got it somewhere in there. The cross-dissolve fades in between timelines.
Yeah.
Every time it happened, I was like, God, I can't help but just like, what was it like last episode? We were on about, there's the bit in the conversation where, he goes, what are you going to do to her? And then the tape recording plays over.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Like, it's like, I had the same reaction whenever they just crossfade. Just like where it's like Michael, and then a slow crossfades where you see like De Niro like in the same position.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I fucking love that. It's
There's one specific slow crossfade that happens very much at the end into the final scene that made me very excited. And we'll talk about the ending scene last, I think. But
yeah, we'll wait to the ending because I do think that's like the fucking brilliant thing there. What I found interesting here in the scene when a load of them, I can't remember the exact scene or the relevance of the scene. It's when the gold telephone's getting passed around the table. What I found interesting is when the golden telephone is getting passed around the table, Michael doesn't ogle over it.
No, he just passes it on.
And he doesn't care for fortune.
No.
And that's the main, like everyone else is like looking like, oh, have you seen, oh yeah, look at that, seen that. And then he just kind of gets hold of it and then just continues it. It's like, he doesn't give a shit. It's like, yeah, whatever, it's gold.
Yeah, that was the, it's that same kind of boardroom thing, isn't it, that Vito goes to in the first film.
Yes.
That it was those same people, wasn't it?
I think so. Obviously Barzini isn't there? But,
yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's a similar thing. But yeah. But also what I find interesting, because Vito is very much so in those moments, in that scene specifically, he's very much so like a, he's like almost like one of the main talking points of the table. Vito is, Michael is just observing.
Yeah.
Like father and son maybe, but they're completely different in the way they conduct their business.
No, I mean, I thought something was going to be mentioned. I thought he'd gone there to... I'm pretty sure Frankie was there. So
Yeah.
I thought he'd gone there to talk, like, to call out Frankie and ask him what was happening and all that kind of stuff, like Vito did to Barzini in the first one.
Yes.
But it didn't happen. He just kind of sits back and takes in what's happening. And
he almost waits for his
scary.
moment. It's like, well, that's kind of like what happened at the end of the first film. He just waits for his moment to like execute. It's like, right, go.
Yeah.
It's like he's almost like he's getting the puzzle pieces together before he starts just assembles the whole like plan. He's very like cerebral, I think, Michael.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Fredo wants to feel accepted in the family, which is a big part of that. I kind of wish we had more of Fredo, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, if it was more of just like what they'd already given him, then 100%.
Yeah.
I cannot stress enough how impressed I was with Fredo in this film.
I do kind of wish that. Yeah, part of me almost wishes that, like, I mean, again, the whole like, you know, businessy aspect of these. I mean, it's part of the Godfather thing, but I would have almost much preferred a heavier focus on the Corleone family.
Yeah.
Throughout this film, because I was more interested in, because I was like, I kind of want to flesh out Connie a bit more.
Yeah.
I want to see a bit more Tom. I want to get more Fredo. Yeah. I kind of want to see more of that. Again, we still got some cool scenes and stuff, but I think the scenes that really like that I was really gravitating towards were like the family stuff though, like Fredo's stuff. So I think that's what I felt really.
Yeah, I think that's why I prefer. That's one of the reasons I preferred this to the first one is that you get a lot more of the kind of interplay between the siblings in the family.
Yeah,
and that's why it slowed down for me when it goes into the more businessy aspects and talking to Hyman Roth and all that kind of thing. That's where it slows down for me because I was really invested in those relationships, particularly Michael and Fredo.
That's exactly where it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, I got like I get chills when Michael says, "You broke my heart, Fredo." But part of me thinks to myself, like, imagine if we had much more Michael and Fredo leading up to that scene, and then that happens. I know we've already had like a first film and loads like an hour already, but I don't know. Like, I feel like they could have got with more of a gut punch with it.
Yeah, I mean, Fredo doesn't do a lot in that first film. No. He's just kind of sent off to Vegas for most of it.
Which I don't mind, because then that makes it even more of a thing, like in the second film where it's like, oh, Fredo.
Yeah.
Fredo of all people. And then that yeah.
I really liked the mention of Mo Green as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I did as well, yeah. Yeah, when Hyman Roth is like, look at him, he goes, and I don't ask who put out the hit.
Yeah.
And he's looking at Michael and he goes, yeah, I know it was you, mate, but...
Exactly.
He's like, so don't ask who put the hit on you. Or something. Yeah. And it's like, ah, oh, shit.
He's like, oh, no.
And Michael's looking at him like, you motherfucker. I'm good. Yeah. like that's really cool stuff. Like, see, you know what? I'm not sure if you've played these games, but a lot of like watching The Godfather 2 and recently watching some gameplay for this game, I do get a lot of similarities of Mafia 2. I can see where like Godfather 2 got a lot from Mafia 2. There's a character in Mafia 2 called Leo. I forgot his last name, but he's very Hyman Roth.
Oh, okay.
And there's like, and you know, and that kind of like reminded me of some things within that. So it just like mafiosos just shit talking each other is one of my favorite things. I've discovered that, I think.
It is good.
There you go. That's like another revelation of mine. I fancy Diane Keaton, and I really like watching mafiosos talk shit to each other.
Yeah.
That's why I came from Godfather Part II. I got here the first genuine smile on Michael has is an hour and 29 minutes into the film, where Fredo asks, "How do you say banana daiquiri?"
Oh yeah.
Daiquiri, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like daiquiri. I was like, yeah. And then he just kind of like has a little smile. I was like, it's so sweet. And then he goes from the smile to just straight face Mike.
Yeah.
And it's because Michael's quite soulless throughout the film, but it's that one moment there where it's like, how do you say banana daiquiri?
Yeah.
Banana daiquiri.
Yeah.
Is that it? Because yeah. You know, they're just like the little like kind of like yeah, it is, yeah, Fredo, yeah.
Yeah, Fredo, come on.
Good on you. Which almost kind of makes, and even thinking about it there now, it makes it a little bit more heartbreaking, the fact that he got like of what like eventually happened to Fredo.
Yeah, he clearly loves him.
Yeah,
like,
that's the
Michael
thing,
clearly does love Fredo.
Yeah, which
is upsetting, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
My boy is dead. That's how I felt. You know when like, in the first one when Vito's like, look what they did to my boy. They massacred my boy. I feel like that. Now that Fredo's dead.
It's like you were in a morgue with Fredo, just like,
yeah,
I can't believe it.
They massacred my boy.
Make sure his forehead was intact.
Yeah. Or I'd have no basis for any jokes on this podcast.
Don't worry. Right, we've got Dog Day Afternoon still to come in the next few weeks, so we still got another John Cazale, and we'll probably fit in Deer Hunter, and we'll probably fit Deer Hunter in at some point.
Cool.
Right. Speaking of the Fredo, you broke my heart, Fredo scene. Mm-hmm. Right. I've got a little bit of a fun fact here of it as well. The kiss Michael gives Fredo is known as the kiss of death. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it in Italian, but the kiss of death is the sign given by a mafioso boss or capo that signifies that a member of the crime family has been marked for death, usually as a result of some perceived betrayal. How much is based on fact and how much on the imagination of the authors is not necessarily known. But also what I find interesting is this can also be linked to the kiss of Judas, also known as the betrayal of Christ, is the act with which Judas identified Jesus to the multitude with swords and clubs who had come from the chief priests and elders of the people to arrest him. So there's a fun little thing in there where you can look in the sense, of course, it's the traditional mafioso thing of the kiss of death, as well as it's what Judas did to Jesus.
Yeah, it's kind of linked back to Christianity.
Which
happens a lot in these movies.
There's a lot of religious connotations within the Godfather films.
Yeah.
And especially, I think there's also, and I know in the Godfather Part III, the Vatican has a big part in it.
Right, okay. I look forward to that, I guess.
I'm so interested in 2 weeks' time where we talk about the Godfather Part III.
All I've heard is that it isn't good. And that Sofia Coppola's in it too much.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God.
But I mean, we were bound to get to a film that we both watch this and we're like, you know what? Not as bad as
I might, because I've really had it hyped up to me as being bad.
Yeah, definitely. But I also like going back to that kiss of death thing. That also kind of like as soon as he kisses Fredo's panicking. Like instantly. He knows exactly what's happened. He's like, oh fuck. Damn it. And then he leaves the party.
Yeah.
And it's amazing acting by Pacino and brilliant acting by Cazale, I think, as well, in that moment. Like that small moment, I think, is just 101 acting, I think.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
Like, on both points.
Yeah.
Because you can, like, see how he's conveying emotion without saying anything. See the range of emotion Pacino's given with very few lines. It's, I know it was you. You broke my heart, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Yeah.
And that tells a story. That tells a whole family story, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right there in them. And, right, I want a bit of a funny point I want to make about this, gushed about that scene entirely. Mm-hmm. I saw a bit of that scene before I ended up seeing The Godfather 2 for the first time.
Right.
But all I saw was the back of Fredo's head. So I didn't know it was Fredo. And I didn't hear him say, "You broke my heart, Fredo." all I saw was Michael kiss a bloke, and my thought was like, is the twist like, does the Godfather 2 become a gay story? Like, so I was like,
did they pull a Muse and not be able to finish it in time? And made it gay?
Like, my genuine thought was like, is he having an affair with a bloke? And like what is it? And then like, and so I was so my first viewing, I was expecting it to be like, oh, is this going to be like kind of LGBT? Before that was even really a genre. But no, he's disappointed of his brother and he kissed him because to mark him for death.
Yes, brilliant. Celebrating Pride Month right.
There you go. Gay Godfather.
Murdering your brother.
The gay Godfather. Again, I put the cross dissolved transitions are beautiful. Again, yeah. When Fredo was a baby, the first thing he is seen as is to have pneumonia. From the start of his life, he has been weak.
Yeah.
Like, just
love that.
Like, it's like, Fredo, stop crying. He has pneumonia. It's like, God, of course Fredo has fucking pneumonia.
It's one of those things that's like, yeah, that's pretty perfect. Like, it's an added detail that you don't need. Yeah, when you hear it, you're like, that's pretty perfect. You know?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Sonny is, of course, the firstborn. So it's like, hey, Santino, what a lad.
What a guy.
It's like, Fredo. Oh, we got Fredo. Oh, God, he's ill again.
No, not again. Look at his forehead. God damn it.
That's the first thing Vito said. It's like, what's with his forehead?
I love this man. Look how they massacred my boy.
His wife's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Doesn't matter. Don't worry about
it. My next point here is Vito has always been a sympathetic man. He's been forever caring. And yeah. I think that shows like, I don't know, like it, because we said about it when we talked about the first film, how Vito doesn't feel like an evil man.
No.
And even when he's shooting folk in the head, he doesn't, it never feels like he's doing it because he's like, yeah, fuck you all. Hey, I'm Vito Corleone. He's doing it because he's like, that's just what we need to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I just found that really cool, and I think that's what like made me gravitate a lot to the Vito scenes was De Niro's performance as Vito and like his kind of caring nature. And because I got, I'm not sure if my next point is here, well, because I saw like when it said the date when we first got to adult Vito, and with his wife and a baby, and my thought was like, I wasn't sure is this the same wife and is this the same kid, but it is. That's
what I thought, because I didn't realize that Sonny was Santino.
And I got it here, like Vito has been loyal to his wife since his early 20s. Because I think when I did the maths according to the year, I think when we cut to the first time De Niro is with Sonny as a baby, Vito would have been 25, and so of course he would have had to have been with his wife a few years before then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's been with this woman since his early 20s.
Good
and
lad.
he's just been loyal. And it's like, and again, that's another big contrast with Michael. He fucks off to Sicily, marries a lass because he can. She blows up. He comes back to America, goes, oh, okay, come on, let's get married. He's not doing it because he loves Kay. He's doing it because he wants to continue a family legacy. Yeah.
That's why he's so upset about... we haven't even talked about the baby yet.
That's another scene.
I realised we haven't even spoken about that.
That's another scene I've got listed. But I don't know. Again, I like that aspect. It's like, oh yeah, Vito's been with his wife since probably since he was in his maybe late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, and he's just been a good guy, like constantly. And I think that really does wonders to cement his character.
Yeah.
Within that, what I found interesting is when Vito, when he hands the $100 to the guy with the hat. I forgot.
Yeah, black hand guy.
Yeah, black, and he goes, Michael, Vito, what do you mean? What if he says no? And he goes, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Yeah.
walks away. There's a crate of oranges right there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look at oranges, they're back. Vito takes charge. That's what sets him up for success. And I've got it there because it's like, even though Clemenza and Tessio are like, nah, just give him the money.
Yeah.
And then Vito's like, nah,
I won't.
We're good shit. Why do we need to be under his thumb?
Yeah.
And then he pulls it off with the flaming towel.
Yeah, kills him. Kills him anyway. That's a horrible death, by the way. All the deaths in this are really brutal. There isn't a lot. There isn't as many as the first film.
No.
Like, as in, like, mob hits. Obviously, there's the death of Fredo and stuff like that, but...
Yeah.
Like, the killings that Vito does throughout the film are really brutal.
Yeah, they're not sensational. They're like, oh, God.
Yeah, you're like, oh, jeez. Especially the stabbing near the end, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Oh, I mean, I haven't noted that down. He goes, when he goes, but that's a big highlight for me, that scene there. He goes, who is your father? And the Andaloni. Who, speak up, I can't hear it. It goes, I forgot what he says. He just guts him. Just like, it's not like like a little, like a few shots.
Oh no, it's like a full-on stab it and pulls it across.
Yeah, he stabs it in his gut and then like brings it diagonally up his body, and then and then he just like wipes the blood off his own face, like on the guy's face.
Yeah.
Just and then he just like goes on his way, and it's like, man, what a moment.
I mean, my first thought after that was, bloody hell, that was elaborate. Because it's the guy that killed his dad and killed his brother at the beginning and then killed his mum. And that's when he comes to America. And it's like, oh, he's not really the guy to get revenge and all that stuff. And at that point, it kind of felt like he'd done stuff and got to this level of power. And specifically got into olive oil so that he could get back to this guy and then kill him.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was elaborate. That was a very elaborate scheme of you, Vito. Why did he have to go into olive oil for some reason and start selling olive oil? Just to get back to this guy to kill him for killing his parents. It's very strange. I was very confused.
I mean, as much as I've also been saying that Vito is clearly a caring and a nice man, I said in the first episode when we talked about Godfather, the first film, there's that Corleone temper.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's inherent in him. As much as he's trying to be a nice guy, nice family man, trying to big up his mates.
Yeah.
He was always going to go back and seek out revenge because he's got this inherent thing with him. I mean, even his older brother immediately went for revenge.
Yeah. And was killed for it.
So it's like there's, yeah, exactly. And it's like, and what does his mum do after trying to like friendly plead to him? Immediately just grabs a knife. Like there's just this, and like his dad got killed because he was like, fuck the mafia.
Yeah.
Like they I mean, of course, Andaloni eventually called Corleone.
Yeah.
They have this fire in them. They all do, and it's like, and they can't push it away.
No.
They can never push it away. Yeah, I said there the Godfather waltzes played during the more hopeful moments, which is mainly only the Vito bits.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think. Oh, that's it. That's the quote that Fredo said. I have my. Or was this Michael? I can't remember. You might be able to correct me. I have my own plans for my future. I don't know why.
Is that Michael? I don't know. I think that's Michael. I don't know. Oh no, is it Fredo when he's talking to Michael about stuff when he's when they're in the boathouse?
Yeah, I think when Michael said about no. I know why I wrote that down. That's the very, very end. That's the end with the flashback to the family.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay, but before we get to that, because I know why I listed that down, I think it's fucking a brilliant quote. I think that scene is incredible, by the way. The best scenes for me, the opening and the ending, I think they're just beautiful. Coppola, once again, brilliant at bookending a film.
Yeah, 100%.
Most of De Niro's scenes I've got is You Broke My Heart, Fredo, is a big one.
Yeah.
And another scene before we get to the end, it was an abortion, Michael.
Oh, that absolutely destroyed me. I didn't even think of it until she said it. Not when she said that it was an abortion. It was when when he said you had a miscarriage, And she goes, "No, Michael." I was like, "Oh shit, it was an abortion. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, 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 no."
And it's how she just goes on, and you can see him just seething.
Yeah.
And she goes, and she like really just wants to fucking hurt him.
Yeah.
In that moment, and it's like, but before that, when he go a few scenes before that, where Tom goes, "It was a miscarriage," and then Michael freaks out and he goes, "Was it a boy?
Yeah.
Was it a boy?" He wants like it almost like he doesn't have faith in Anthony.
Yeah.
So he kind of is like,
again, though, it's like when you said that he's it's not that because he loves Kate, it's because he wants to carry on the family name.
Yeah, yeah, and it's she goes, "No, it was an abortion, Michael.
Yeah,
it was an abortion, like our marriage is an abortion, and I didn't want to bring another son into this godforsaken world." It's like, and it was a boy, Michael, and I had him aborted because I didn't want him to. It's like, oh,
Christ.
God damn it. And then he just bats her.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, damn it.
And that is a hit as well. He fully clocks her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like and then he goes, "You would not take my family, you would not take my children away." It's like, "They're my children as well, Michael."
Yeah.
He's not hearing her at that place. Like, "You're not taking my children away."
Yeah, he just keeps repeating himself.
Yeah, like that scene there again. I think like there's so many scenes in this that Pacino just like shows. It's like that's an example of incredible acting.
Yeah,
that's an example of incredible acting, and it's throughout the whole film.
Yeah,
I think. And as much as I prefer the first film, I think Pacino is better in this film than he is in the.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Even though technically he's got more range in the first, what he does with Michael in the second film just exceeds everything else.
Yeah.
I think it's just it's an incredibly powerful moment, I think. And I do think that's Diane Keaton's best piece of acting in that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, that and the last time we see her when he shuts the door, which is also kind of poetic in the sense of the last time we see her in the first film is when the door gets shut.
Yeah. She gets shut out of it, yeah.
Yeah, which, again, I love those moments there. And I felt tense when Connie came into the room. It was like, right, Michael's on his way.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Kay, you have to go."
It's just so much of all that stuff. It's when, obviously, when he says to his mother about losing his family and all that kind of thing, you think he's talking about Fredo for a lot of it. And then it kind of acts as its own little plot twist, that he loses her as well. And it hits so hard because by the end he has kind of lost everything. Very much so. He's very much lost everything because he couldn't do what he promised, and he said to her that he would. That was one thing that I liked when Diane Keaton says to him, "You promised me that in 5 years the Corleone family would be entirely legitimate. That was 7 years ago."
Yeah.
And all that, like he's can't kind of get out of it because he likes the power too much, and
that's exactly what it is.
It's led to him losing everything by the end of this film.
Oh yeah, but it's the way it's written, it's the way Pacino plays it. It's a subtle power play. He's not like, "Ha, all my money."
Yeah.
And it's not a Tony Montana-esque performance. It's very subtle in the sense of just he's like, yeah, well, you can clearly see he doesn't want to get out of it.
No, he doesn't. Oh,
clearly see. And because he's loving it so much, but he doesn't want to say it because why should he? That's almost like he sees himself above everyone in such this way of just like, yeah, try me, go on. You all right? You want to do that? Oh, all right then. Well, I just will do a horrific thing to you.
Yeah, he's constantly in control of everything that he does.
Yeah, he abuses his power.
Yeah,
that's what he does. Right. The ending.
Oh, as soon as it crossfaded with Sonny's head.
Yeah.
Mate.
That might be my you know what? I love a lot of the scenes in Godfather. I love in the films. Yeah. I love a lot more in the Godfather. I love more in the Godfather 1. I love, so much in that film.
Yeah.
This ending with them round the table might be my favourite Godfather scene.
I was just so excited.
It doesn't involve any gunplay. It doesn't involve any big shot mafia stuff. it's just we're after this awful thing that's been happening. We're taken back to Sonny, and when Fredo was just dumb little Fredo, and before Connie was even with Carlo.
Yeah, because they meet in that scene, don't they?
Yeah. Sonny introduces Carlo and Connie.
Yeah.
It's just, I'll let you go forth with it.
I was just, like, because if you remember from when we were doing the episode on the first film, and I was saying to you for a lot of that Sonny was the standout for me for that film. I really, really enjoyed that character, and I really loved that performance. And just to see him again made me really happy. As soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, man. And because if he hadn't have died, none of this would have probably happened.
That's exactly right, yeah.
And to go back to a time when they were all alive and they were happy until the end of the scene, obviously, but they were all happy together and all that kind of thing. And I think bringing him back for that is so perfect.
Yeah.
It's so spot on. It was really, really well done.
Yeah.
And that the crossfade was a fade into his head as well. It wasn't fade into a younger Michael or anything like that. It was fade into Sonny, so you got that slow reveal of him, and I was like, oh yes. So happy to see him.
And it's the moment as we learn that Michael was going to college.
Yeah.
And he dropped out to go to the military. Which it's like, Dad paid for that.
Yeah.
It almost showed, like that, which also adds to the scene in the first film with Vito and Michael, where he's like disappointed in Michael, where it's like he didn't even want Michael near any murder.
Yeah.
He wanted him just go, just get education, just go, just.
He wanted him to get educated, get a job, and get out. That's what he wanted for him.
Which almost is even more tragic, where Michael's almost rebellious nature is like, nah, fuck you, I'm going in the military. Yeah. And that's where he gets the taste for killing. From his own rebellious nature.
It's like they've made a pact also as a family though to try and get him out, because when he goes to the military, when we first see him in the first film, they're all calling him a war hero and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to make him think in his own head that he's better than what they all are. They still carry it on even after they're disappointed that he went to the military instead of college. They're still trying to force it to be like, oh no, you're better than us because you're this war hero and all this kind of thing. It's so, but it just kind of shows that he developed a lot in that first film, but by nature he's always been a prick. He's always been a bit of a knob. Like
it's not. It's like what I find, like I can relate this to an extent to what I know of from moments that's happened within my family, not to this extent. Little mini story. My granddad and my uncle, my mum's brother, younger brother. My granddad was my uncle, he wasn't rebellious in the sense like, I hate you, Dad, but he always did things to like almost do it because his dad didn't necessarily want that to happen.
Yeah, like to spite him sort of thing.
Yeah, not even in like a malicious way, but my uncle, for example, he grew his hair out a lot.
Yeah.
And my granddad, apparently, this is stories according to my mum, was unhappy with my uncle's haircut, that he kicked him out the house and so he lived. So for a little while, my uncle just slept in his car with his dog.
Right.
And another little mini example, my granddad liked football, and my uncle chose to take rugby up just because it wasn't football. Yeah. Like it's, and that's the thing with just general family stuff, I think. And I think that's like, it's like, oh, you want me to have this education? No, I want to fight for my country. I want to go in the military. Yeah. Not even necessarily for Queen and not for country or anything, just because, like, because
I want it.
Yeah, and it's the moment where this is the line that I wrote down, where Tom goes, me and your father, we talk a lot about your future, Michael.
Yeah.
And he goes, you talk a lot about my future.
Yeah.
My future. And then he goes, he has a lot of plans for you, Michael. And then Michael goes, I have my own plans for my future.
Yeah.
Where he's outright taking it. It's like, nah, I don't need you to plan me out. I can do it myself.
Exactly.
Which almost shows, like, even he's almost outright saying that, like, I'll get into the family business even if you don't want me to. He doesn't mean that at the time.
Yeah, but
it shows, like, that makes sense. Him being like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do whatever I want to do, and you can't, like, direct me to that.
No.
And the when that scene ends, when they all leave and he's sat on his own, I don't know why that scene just really hit home for me.
Is it, so you know when they crossfade back to Michael in the present day, he's meant to be aged up there, isn't he?
1960, that's meant to be.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Because I was thinking, like, why does Al Pacino look so old there in comparison to the rest of this film? But
I've got a little bit of trivia about. I've got quite a lot of trivia actually, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's that moment where I'm not sure if you've seen The Graduate.
I haven't, no.
Okay, but there's the end scene of when Michael is sat on his own on the table where everyone else like walks out to go, hey, happy birthday, and you just hear that moment in that scene is a really big. It has the exact same feeling of what that I connect to the start of The Graduate, and we'll talk about The Graduate at some point, but it's almost feeling isolated even when you're in a place of home and comfort.
Yeah.
And that hits home for me personally. But it's such a brilliant scene, and like it fades to that, and then is the last shot when Vito and a young Michael are on the train and they're waving out the train window.
I think it cuts back to Pacino before it ends.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but I was surprised that they didn't show Vito in that scene. I thought Marlon Brando was going to show up. I
have fun trivia about that.
Right, okay.
And with that being said, is there any more we want to say about Godfather Part 2?
Not that I can think of. I think we've covered it. It's real good, would be my opinion.
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about it. Do you prefer this over the first? Still?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's fair. That's understandable. Favorite scene in both Godfather films? What is it?
Oh, probably that scene in the boathouse.
Okay.
With Fredo and Michael. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Really good stuff from John Cavale there. It was so good. Just to see him like do that little breakdown that he has.
Yeah.
It's real good. It's a real good time.
Apart from the ending of the second film, I would probably say, I mean, I love when Sonny gets gunned down. It's just a really fucking well done scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the first Godfather that I love. There's a lot, but most of that's where I come to it. I think I consistently like more of the Godfather than I do the second film.
Yeah,
but that's not saying I don't like the second film. I think it's when you have two films that are bona fide masterpieces.
Yeah, it's hard
it's you know what I mean? It's like, well, where do you go with that then? It's not like one of them's really good and one of them's like amazing. It's like they're both fucking brilliant. Like, what are you gonna get from me with that? But yeah, so that has been our deep discussion on The Godfather Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Not the end of us talking about the Godfather films, because in 2 weeks' time we will
watch Part 3. Very excited.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what it's actually like.
Yeah.
I've had it hyped up as being awful, but I don't know.
I'm curious about revisiting it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, with that being said, we both really like the film. Both think it's a great film. Let's move on to some trivia.
Yes.
Of this, because why not? It's a bit of fun. Might provoke a bit more slight small conversations, but let's get to it. I have quite a bit of trivia, so let's get to it then. First bit, again, just want to say, get this on IMDb. I get these from IMDb, so there you go. Robert De Niro spent 4 months learning to speak the Sicilian dialect in order to play Vito Corleone. Nearly all of the dialogue that his character speaks in the film was in Sicilian. To prepare for his role, Robert De Niro lived in Sicily for 3 months.
Oh.
Which
it paid off. He does very well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola had a horrible time directing the first Godfather and asked to pick a different director for the sequel, while taking the title of producer for himself. He chose Martin Scorsese, who the film executives rejected. Thus, Coppola agreed to direct the film with a few conditions. The conditions being the sequel be interconnected with the first film with the intention of later showing them together. That he be allowed to direct his own script of the conversation. That he be allowed to direct a production for the San Francisco Opera, and that he be allowed to write the screenplay for the 1974 Great Gatsby, all prior to production of the sequel for a Christmas 1974 release.
What?
So, yeah.
That's like main production 1. Going, Hutch, look, I'll only edit this second film if you let me also do all of these jobs that I all have a very strict deadline for. Why would he do that? That's so daft.
So Coppola wanted Scorsese to direct the second Godfather, which would have been in, because Scorsese only did Mean Streets, I think, really before this.
Yeah.
He didn't even do Taxi Driver or like anything like that yet.
Not just yet, no.
But yeah, and the fact that he was like, the conversation was made because Coppola was like, right, if you want me to do Godfather 2, let me do Conversation then.
Yeah, and I'm bloody glad he did.
Good on them.
Watch episode 2 if you don't know our thoughts on that movie. It's real good. Spoilers.
Yeah.
For it. It's real good.
Though it claims to be based on the novel by Mario Puzo, only the scenes about young Vito Corleone have any basis in the book. Only one chapter in the book is devoted to Vito's youth and young adulthood. The story revolving around Michael and family in Las Vegas is entirely unique to the film.
I was going to say, is it a series of books? Because when it said it's based on the novel The Godfather, I thought, but that'd mean just one book, and surely it's not a really, really long book.
Yeah, there's multiple books, but I'm not because I know one book's called The Sicilian, but I'm not sure if it's connected as such to it.
Right, okay, yeah.
Here's a fun little thing. Originally, the actors in the flashback scenes wore pants with zippers. One of the musicians pointed out that the zipper had not been invented at that time, so some scenes had to be reshot with button fly trousers.
Brilliant. That just shows, right, how inconvenient button trousers are. You know what? I'm gonna put this angst out here on the podcast so it's public. Button jeans, stop making them. They're clearly a thing of the past. Just use zippers. They're so much more convenient. It pisses me off so much when I have to go for a wee and I have to because they're so easy.
5 buttons.
Yeah, because they're so easy to undo that you don't even think about it. You undo the top button and basically all the other ones come undone. But then when you finish and you've got to put your jeans back on, no mate, unlucky. You've got to try and button up 5 tiny little buttons before you can get to your normal button. God, I hate it. That was such a tangent, but God, it pisses me off.
Oh, I love that.
I hate them so much.
That's why the Intermission Podcast is going to be it's going to work so well.
Yeah.
Moments like this. When Vito arrives at Ellis Island, he is marked with a circled X.
Yes.
Ellis Island immigrants were marked with this if the inspector believed the person had a mental defect.
Oh, is that because he doesn't speak, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, yeah.
Nice little detail, that.
Yeah. In the scene in which young Vito negotiates with Signor Roberto on the street, a passerby interrupts to say hello to Vito. Carmelo Russo was an extra who was supposed to just walk by, but he improvised speaking to Vito. Francis Ford Coppola did not like that Russo interrupted the scene, but Robert De Niro liked that it showed how much people in the neighborhood respected Vito, and he convinced Coppola to keep Russo's line. which I like.
Oh,
that
nice.
moment.
Yeah, I like that moment too. Yeah. And you see the look on Roberto's face as well.
Yeah.
I like that. Glad it was included.
The door to Vito's olive oil business was rigged so that it would not open if a nail was inserted into the lock. Coppola kept this a secret from Leopoldo Tristi, who played Signor Roberto, and his difficulty in opening the door was real. Coppola wanted to film Leopoldo, a known Italian comedian, improvising his way through the scene. When Genko opens the door, Frank Severo supposedly pulls the nail out.
That's hilarious.
So I did feel that was quite a real, a real blueprint moment almost, and it's always like, yeah, that's kind of smart. If he's like a known Italian comedian, it's like, let's see what he does.
Yeah.
And he did it. I think and we were saying like it was funny as fuck.
That scene is really funny. I liked his character for the brief time that he was in it.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, they can live there. I'll reduce it, and they can have normal rent. And De Niro's just looking at him. I'll reduce it by 5, giving him a look. 10, nice one.
Yeah, he's like, nice one, mate. Yeah, cheers. That's when he's going out. He's like, oh, I'll have to come back another time. And he's trying to do the look and stuff. It's so good. Really good.
Here's in relevance to the ending. Marlon Brando was scheduled to return for a cameo in the flashback at the end of the film, but because of the way Paramount Pictures treated him during The Godfather, he did not show up for shooting on the day the scene was filmed. Francis Ford Coppola rewrote the scene without Vito, and it was filmed the next day. Imagine that!
What a dick.
Yeah.
That's such a dick move. That's like, imagine if Joe had done that.
Yeah.
If Hutch hadn't held the door open for him one day or something, and he got real pissed off and just didn't show up.
It's like, you know what? I don't like Hutch. See ya. It's like, no, don't. No.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Do you like the director? Yeah, he's all right. Well, then go in then.
Pleb.
That really annoys
me. This was the first sequel to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. The second, and as of 2020, the last, was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. It is also the only. It is also the only film with a prequel storyline to be nominated for Best Picture.
Ah,
which feels like that shouldn't be the case, considering there's been so many.
Yeah.
But
big up to Return of the King, by the way. I just want to shout that out.
Yeah.
God, I love Lord of the Rings. I want to watch them one day with you. All right.
We can fit it in some. Yeah. Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
One day at Titan.
Me and Julia just watched them again, and they're so good. They're so good.
I think they're okay.
I love them. I love them so much.
Though never explicitly stated in the film, Anita Columbo, the old woman evicted from her apartment that a young Vito helps out, is the grandmother of Sandra Corleone, Sonny's wife.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interessant.
Just a nice little,
nice little tie-in, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like one of them things that you read in the Star Wars encyclopedias, like the visual dictionaries or something. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
That's something that could have been included in the film.
Or when loads of people are like, oh, here's my Pixar theory about how everything's related.
Yeah.
It's
a nice little one, though.
Hyman Roth's character is loosely based on real-life mobster Meyer Lansky. Lansky, who at the time of the film's release was living in Miami, reportedly phoned Lee Strasberg and said, "Now, why couldn't you have made me more sympathetic? After all, I am a grandfather."
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. See, that's a fun mobster. You know what I was on about Frankie earlier? That's one that I'd be having a laughing cart, you know?
Yeah.
Probably did terrible things. I shouldn't be saying that.
There was much debate over whether Robert De Niro should grow a mustache for the scenes where young Vito is a few years older, but De Niro couldn't decide. In the end, De Niro tossed a coin for the scenes where Vito returns to Sicily. He even gained weight and wore a smaller version of the dental appliance Marlon Brando wore for the first film. Brilliant. So I just want to throw out that in there because once again, mustaches strike.
Yeah, I'd like to see if there is negative Letterboxd reviews about mustaches again.
I'm very curious if there is.
Very curious.
Right. If you I'm curious to see if you get frustrated at this bit. If you got frustrated at Brando.
Yes, okay.
Production nearly ended before it began when Al Pacino's lawyers told Francis Ford Coppola that he had grave misgivings with the script and was not coming. Coppola spent an entire night rewriting it before giving it to Pacino for his review. Pacino approved and the production went forward. Pacino later said to Coppola that he hadn't actually disliked the first script all that much, but knew it could be better. Imagine
you
that.
knob.
Imagine that.
You absolute knobhead.
God, and I just like...
That's one of them that, like, it's when, like, I hear those, like, stories about people doing method acting and stuff. God, it just... I mean, that's not anything to do with method acting, but just things like that generally where the actors... Oh, God, it annoys me.
It's like, I knew it could be better. It's like, but it was good enough, Al. But it was good enough, Al.
It was good enough, Al. All right.
Because you know fine well when you're doing a film, when you're getting close to production, you just want to get into production, and then as soon as people are like, have you thought about changing the script? It's like, no, because we're just about to do it, so shut up.
Yeah, shut up and get on with it. You've signed on to this movie. It's happening. Just show up on the day, read your lines, and go home, and don't send anyone like dead rats or whatever. Jared Leto. You're not... You prick.
In an interview, cinematographer Gordon Willis admitted that he sometimes went too far in his use of dark photography. He particularly noted the scene in which Michael asks Mama for advice as an example. As a result, when the 2008 Coppola restoration was being performed, the restoration experts had to turn to Willis to find out how he intended the scenes to be shown.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah. Again, I watched it on Blu-ray, so I watched the restoration, so I didn't notice it. But
right. I mean, I'd have said it was worse than the first film.
Yeah.
In terms of darkness and stuff.
I could get that.
Yeah.
James Caan asked that he be paid the same amount of money to play Sonny Corleone at the end of the film in the flashback as he was paid to do in The Godfather. He got his wish.
What?
Yeah.
So many of these are just me going to be angry about the actors being stupid. What do you mean? You're in one scene. That's no.
I've got another one that might be frustrating.
Brilliant.
Right. Not right away. This one's a good one.
I can't wait till we do Apocalypse Now.
Oh boy, Jesus Christ! The trivia on that film is going to be mental. Robert De Niro is one of only 6 actors alongside Sophia Loren, Christoph Waltz, Roberto Benigni, Benicio del Toro, and Marion Cotillard to win an Academy Award for a role primarily in a language other than English, since almost of his dialogue in this film is the Sicilian dialect of Italian.
Huh.
So yeah, 6 actors have won Academy Awards are primarily not in the English language.
That's very interesting.
It's one of these fun little things. Like, cool.
Nice.
Right. Al Pacino caused problems throughout production, demanding a massive salary and heavy script rewrites. He frequently complained about Francis Ford Coppola's slow pace, yelling, "Serpico only took 19 days," and threatened to quit.
What?
Which, in addition to that, filming was delayed for a month after Al Pacino developed pneumonia on location in Santo Domingo.
Oh,
so the fact he was like, "It's taken forever, Francis," and then he delayed it with pneumonia.
Yeah. God damn it, Francis. You're taking ages. I'm just going to go and get pneumonia. I bet you want to film the bloody scene by the time I get back. I imagine he did it out of spite. He got pneumonia out of spite.
So, yeah, he's like, see?
Yeah. Try and get some scenes done when I'm not here. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Coppola's like, "I've literally got a whole De Niro thing to film as well." So
Exactly. God
I've heard Coppola's quite a slow-paced director. He takes his time. Either he takes his time or shit just goes wrong on set.
Yeah.
Then again, I think shit goes wrong on set no matter what. You can't avoid it.
Exactly. Can you imagine Pacino working with Kubrick then.
Did he? I don't think. No, he didn't. Did he? Jesus Christ!
Imagine if he had done.
Fucking hell.
There'd have been a murder.
Pacino instead. Pacino is Jack Torrance in The Shining. Jesus.
It kind of would have been cool though.
That would have been pretty mint.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Right. Here's the thing. Originally, it was supposed to be Clemenza who agrees to testify against the Corleones, according to Francis Ford Coppola. Richard S. Castellano, who was the highest paid actor in The Godfather. The guy who played Clemenza was the highest paid actor in The Godfather, which I thought it would have been Brando, but that's not the case.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's odd.
Richard S. Castellano wanted to write his own lines and wanted a large salary increase. Consequently, his character was replaced by Frankie, played by Michael V. Gazzo, who received an Oscar nomination for the performance. But according to Ardell Sheridan, I assume, who was it? I don't know. Castellano refused to regain the £50 required for He refused to regain the £50 required for the role of Clemenza due to health reasons, so Coppola decided to replace him rather than have a thinner Clemenza. So two different points there, but yeah, Frankie's role was meant to be Clemenza originally.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Really. Especially when they talked about him at the beginning and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Lee Strasberg became ill during shooting, but instead of delaying production, Roth's character was rewritten to be an ailing old man.
See, now that's dedication to a movie, Al Pacino.
I get that though, Lee Strasberg, because it's like you could have pulled it off. You couldn't really have just Michael have pneumonia still doing his scenes.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Francis Ford Coppola considered bringing Marlon Brando back to play Vito Corleone as a young man, convinced that he could play at any age. As he worked on the script, though, he remembered Robert De Niro's exceptional audition for The Godfather and cast him without offering the part to Brando.
Was Marlon Brando upset about this?
Maybe that's why he didn't show up for the end.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Robert De Niro auditioned for and was almost cast in The Godfather in a minor role. When Francis Ford Coppola was cast in this film, he saw Mean Streets and knew he wanted De Niro for a major role in the sequel.
Makes sense, he's really good in that.
Still didn't see Mean Streets.
Good one. Really good little town.
Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay, even though half of the script was adapted and half was original. I think I've already said this, yeah. Yeah, sure. In an early version of the script, an ongoing storyline with... Oh, God, not the pop filter. In an early version of the script, an ongoing storyline was that Tom Hagen having an affair with Sonny's widow. This was later discarded, but the line where Michael Corleone tells Hagen that he can take his wife, children, and mistress to Las Vegas was kept.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, actually.
Yeah. I did think that when he went like, your wife, children, your mistress, and he's like, Michael, come on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, interesting. Apparently that's meant to be Sonny's widow.
I mean, it'd give Tom more to do. He doesn't do a lot in this one.
I guess they thought it's a long film as it is.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't add another thing.
And it's a kind of a little bit disrespectful to the character of Sonny from the first film that a lot of people, I imagine, enjoyed.
Yeah. The musical play performed in the film, Senza Mama, was an actual early 20th century play composed by Francis Ford Coppola's godfather, Francesco Pinino.
Oh. That's very interesting as a tie that it was his godfather.
Yeah.
That's not pretty
grandfather.
Oh, grandfather. Oh, well, that's not as good, but it's still pretty cool.
Keeping it within the family, you know.
Yeah.
Talia Shire was only paid $1,500 for playing Connie in the first Godfather. For this movie, she received $30,000 with a $10,000 bonus when the box office receipts hit $27.5 million.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a lot of monies.
Yeah. As a sign of the ascent into the big time, Al Pacino was paid $500,000 plus a 10% share of the profits for the film. He had earned a mere $25,000 for the first film 2 years earlier.
Do you mean a mere $25,000 IMDb?
I mean, in comparison to 500,000.
I mean, yeah, but if I had 25 grand, I'd be pretty chuffed with myself.
Yeah, I would love that personally.
I thought I was sorted for life if I had 25 grand.
Yeah. Lee Strasberg came out of retirement to play Hyman Roth after a specific request from Al Pacino. He was unwilling at first, but agreed to do it after a 45-minute meeting with Francis Ford Coppola's father, Carmine Coppola. I like how Francis's dad was like, let me talk to him.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Carmine Coppola sounds like a character from The Godfather as well.
Yeah. Well, what I also noticed, he was the conductor of the score.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, yeah, but yeah, Carmine Coppola does sound like a mafioso.
It does, doesn't it?
Speaking of scores, although Nino Rota's score for The Godfather was withdrawn from an Oscar nomination because he reused the same theme from his previous score for Fortunella from 1958, he was still awarded the Oscar for Best Original Score for this movie, even though it used the same love theme for the first film.
Oh.
I don't know what changed there with the
Academy.
No,
it's really weird.
They might be like, look, the music's so mint, we have to like...
Yeah.
On, we can't like not have it there.
I mean, that sounds about right for the Academy though. Change their mind on something randomly.
Here's something that I think the thought of it with you would panic the shit out of you, Robbie.
Okay.
Editing continued up to the release date of the film.
No. So much nope on that one. Jesus Christ, no.
God, that's terrifying.
That really is horrifying. I was so happy to have the news finished like 3 days before deadline.
Imagine it, but imagine if like COVID and all that didn't happen. Imagine if we were just still in the editing room until deadline.
No, I couldn't do
it. No, rather not.
I'd rather not. I don't even have a tea yet.
People would be walking in and be like, "Are you guys all right?" It's like, "Leave us alone!"
Yes, shut up, Lee.
Yeah,
go downstairs and break a boom pole or something. I don't know. Leave me alone.
John Cazale only. I've got it. I said it here. John Cazale appeared in only 5 films, and all of them involved Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and/or Francis Ford Coppola. This, however, is the only Cazale film to involve all 3.
Cute.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of the ones that I've seen, I'd say it's his best.
I haven't seen Deer Hunter, and I would agree that I think this is his best performance.
Yeah.
This was the last film printed in the US in the classic imbibition Technicolor dye transfer process, which produced better color accuracy and longevity than colour print films of the time. The British and Italian lines were not shut down until a few years later. The British equipment was purchased by the Beijing Film and Video Lab in 1978 and used to print Chinese colour films until the early 1990s. So the reason why this film's colour looks amazing is because it was the last one to use the traditional Technicolor way of printing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Peter Sellers was considered for Hyman Roth.
No.
Weird.
It's a nice one to just drop in, but like, what?
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
God, that would have been a different... like, this prestigious, like... I know Peter... I haven't seen much of Peter Sellers. I know he's, like, an acclaimed actor, but, like, he's primarily comedic.
Yeah. And
they got, like, this really prestigious theatre actor instead.
Yeah.
What a contrast.
That's really weird.
Originally, Kay was to truly have a miscarriage. It was Talia Shire's idea that she would have an abortion instead, as the ultimate way to hurt Michael. To thank her for this idea, Francis Ford Coppola wrote in the scene in which she tearfully asked Michael to forgive Fredo.
Nice.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Last two bits.
Mm-hmm.
According to the script, the movie's last shot in the film, centering on Michael as he gazes at the lake, occurs in 1968. That accounts for Al Pacino's additional wrinkles and slightly receded and grey in hairline.
Yeah.
It was actually the concluding aspect of a scene with his son Anthony, who declares he will not follow in his father's footsteps. Anthony was portrayed by an actor about 18 years old. The scene was half filmed, but Francis Ford Coppola lost the light before wrapping for the day and was unable to return to complete the scene.
That's such a, us lot thing to do on set.
Oh, the lighting should stuff it. He just stares off the distance.
That's really... I like it, though, that it's just that, as opposed to being a full elongated scene of it.
Yeah,
I'd
his
rather
son
it be
being
that.
instead of his son being like, Dad, I don't like you anymore, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, because it's just it's like an extra blow of him losing someone else, which you don't really need.
You could assume that would happen, though.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right, final bit of trivia.
Cool.
After Michael finds out Fredo was the traitor, Fredo protests that he didn't know it was going to be a hit, but the tip off to Michael that he was going to be hit, and that saved his life, was when Kay asked him why the bedroom drapes were open, which gave Michael the split second he needed to take cover and save their lives. Since the traitor had to be the one to leave the drapes open, and the only possible reason to leave the drapes open was to give the assassin a clear shot when Michael was visible in the bedroom, Fredo had to know it was going to be a hit.
Oh, Fredo.
Which is even more kind of tragic.
Yeah.
Right. Some fun, some interesting bits of trivia.
Yeah.
There. Now, let's go on to some negative Letterboxd reviews.
Oh, yes. My favourite.
Last week, you know what? Not great.
No.
But, the first Godfather had some pretty solid ones. Let's see if we can, hit a good one.
Any mentions of mustaches and I'll be happy.
I just had a quick scroll through the first page. These are all half-star reviews.
Brilliant.
For the Godfather Part II. Right,
Let's
here we
do
go.
it.
I tried again, and my day is almost over. Scorsese generally can't redeem himself. What?
Scorsese didn't do this film.
Right, there's two comments. Did someone correct this fool?
Full of a toque.
No. I don't.
No,
okay.
No one corrected him. God damn it. We're starting strong.
Right. Wait, what? Right, this is the same guy. The same person has 4 reviews here.
Was it the 4 different times he attempted to watch it?
Yeah, I think so, because the next one is 3rd time's a charm for Scorsese. Apparently not. Again,
it's not
right.
Scorsese.
Decided to rewatch. Scorsese can't redeem himself on this one. What? Wait. And then the last one, Al Pacino this, Martin Scorsese that, overrated. Right, so the person...
This guy...
isn't right.
He's a moron.
Right. Did someone correct him? Right.
Please, someone corrected him.
Someone commented saying, "Dude, stop." And then someone put Scorsese ? You're a disgrace.
Brilliant. I'm glad this man was put in his place.
Fair enough.
Jesus
right,
Christ.
Next one. Fuck you, Coppola, bitch. At least right director.
Classic.
Fuck you, Coppola, bitch. Stay away from harakiri lest you want to not have any kneecaps. I don't know what that means.
This seems like a mobster getting angry about it.
I don't know. You could have may as well
break your kneecaps.
Sure.
That was more Dracula, wasn't it? Bleh.
Bleh. Another one that just says, boring.
Brilliant. They're my favourite ones. That's like something my mate Greg would say. Yeah.
Well, like when all of the conversations ones was like, this is boring.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't get this. What? Francis Ford Coppola's best work was Sofia Coppola.
I mean, that is really funny.
I mean,
Big
have
ups
you
to
seen?
whoever wrote that.
I mean, mate, have you seen Godfather 3? I disagree.
I haven't yet, and I will be the judge of that next week.
Although Sofia Coppola did Lost in Translation, which is one of my faves.
And that one where all the girls kill themselves and stuff. What's it called?
The Virgin Suicides?
Possibly.
I don't know. That sounds like I haven't seen it. It's got
Kirsten Dunst in it. We watched it for college because it had something to do with Mustang that we watched, which was a Turkish film. Besides the point, it doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Okay. The next review is Fell Asleep.
Brilliant. Is that my dad? It says Simon Tweedo under that.
It does, no.
This man fell asleep during The Dark Knight. He'd never seen it. We started watching it. We got like 20 minutes in. He fell asleep. He woke up at the end and went, well, it wasn't that good.
It was like you missed most of it.
I could have punched him. I was so angry.
Right. This one's a bit longer.
Go on.
My grandpa brought me to this against my will, since this film is a mess. Bland and unoriginal. It's old and a lot of talking, needs more action. No one gives a good performance here. There's a lot of grain, and that's really distracting. I need all that removed. Worst cinematography I've ever seen. The editing is bad. The writing is unnecessarily long without adding up to anything. It expects me to do some reading. Anytime we go back to Vito, there's a lot of scenes with Michael just looking blankly. It tries to shove its heavily religious themes down your throat. I'd go to Sunday school if that's what I'm looking for. I'm happy to return home to play more Fortnite. I might watch this again if a remake happens. There's so much wrong with this.
Why would you want a remake? Why would you want that? That's just like a young kid nowadays going, oh, it's old. Old films. Ooh. That's
just a remake of the second film. That's what he's asked
awful.
for. Just not the right. There's 2 comments on this. What's said here?
Go on. I want this kid to be abused.
Did you convince my wife to write this review for you?
What? What?
What a lad.
Oh, god damn it.
And then question: what made you think there was going to be action in this? Didn't respond, but I love that. Just one guy. Did you convince my wife to write this review?
That is a top-notch comment.
Just a guy just throwing his wife in the shit. Just being like...
Absolutely spot
on. And the last 3 reviews on this are quite short, so whatever. Just as bad as the first. Well, if you don't like the first film, this film isn't really going to win you over.
No, you're not going to like this.
No. Terribly paced. Could not finish. I wonder where you've stopped.
Fair. We don't like the pacing. I mean, that's fair enough, but it's not unwatchable because of it.
No. Even worse than the first one. Some of the worst films ever made. All right.
Not true. You're edgy, aren't you?
Right.
Look at me. I don't like the films that everyone else likes.
Right. We still have yet to top the disappointing mustache.
Oh god, yeah.
That's still the best one.
Yeah, easily. That is Hall of Fame.
I mean, the comment, did you convince my wife to write this review for you, was better than anything.
That's pretty good.
That one was good, but I mean, just the pathetic mustache. There was no mustache comment on this. Hang on, let me skip to the second. Is there anyone? I'm not going to... No, I'm not going to read all of those. Okay, whatever.
Devastating.
But yeah, so that was negative Letterboxd reviews for The Godfather Part II. Yeah. With that being said,
yes,
let's move on to the wrap up, Robbie.
Yeah.
Go forth, Robbie, with whatever you want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I've just got one little thing to plug. So my sister is part of a drag group and a burlesque thing that she does at uni, called House of Discord. And this week, it's on the 3rd of July, they're doing a little event called Persona. if you want to have a look at that, you can go to House of Discord's Instagram page, and it'll be a thing. It'll be you pay to watch it, so it'll be you make a donation to watch the video. I made a music video for it that I directed for my sister, and then the money that they gather will be split between multiple charities and all that kind of thing. So if you want to get involved, it's on the 3rd of July. If this podcast is even up by then, if not, I'm sure the videos will be available somewhere. Just head over to the House of Discord's Instagram page. You'll find everything there, and it was all to celebrate Pride Month and all that kind of thing. So get involved if you want.
Sweet. This will be uploaded on the 4th of July, so indeed.
Cool.
If you just send me the link to that, then I'll...
there'll be some way of getting it after the day, yeah.
I also want to throw that out there. If you want to, in relation to that whole thing, what would also be a nice little companion piece involving that is to listen to the podcast that Robbie did with his sister of the Individuals podcast. I had a thoroughly enjoyable time listening to that.
Cheers, man.
I enjoy again just you getting more and more awkward as like it went on. Even though it was an audio podcast, I could see you.
Yeah, you could see me kind of cringing when we start talking about burlesque and stuff.
I could see exactly what you were doing. It was very interesting. A lot of stuff I didn't know about burlesque.
Oh, thanks, man.
And, it's not really a world that I would. I mean, why would I be familiar with that?
Me neither, surprisingly.
Yeah. But yeah. Have I got anything on here? No, I do not. As a follow-up on certain things that have been previously said, again, this is going to be Dad Oscar speaking.
I'm so ready.
It's not fun Oscar, but it's Dad Oscar. It's serious Oscar.
Yeah.
Of course, once again, there's links towards ways you can support the Black Lives Matter movement. Again, going to keep reminding people about that because I feel like we all need to keep doing our part. It's not just a fad. Keep looking into ways how not to be racist and how to be educated. That may sound silly. They look into ways to not be racist, but you know what? It's a lot more surprising than I realised in the sense of like, oh yeah, that stuff needs to be more known. And also on top of the last week where I was talking about the speaking out movement within wrestling, and I mentioned about the fact how it's just a general situation about just making sure, be, just feel like you don't, you won't get put down if anything, like if you need to express any negativity that's happened in your life. And I also want to follow on from that because a news story that's come to light to me as of literally not long since we were on Skype, Robbie.
Yeah.
Literally maybe an hour before I went on Skype with you, I discovered these stories, which the past few days have come to light. Mm-hmm. A cinema that I have been championing since the beginning of this podcast, Tyneside Cinema. Apparently, I need to read up more about it. There's BBC News articles about this, and there's stories on Twitter about this. Has had a history of having employees in there who have not done nice things. I'll put it that way, to not go into very, very, very dark territory. Again, there's one specific Twitter thread that I had a look at, which incredibly brave of this woman to go through this, who is an ex-employee for Tyneside, who has shared a brief version of her story of being an employee in Tyneside, which I think I find quite sickening, if I'm being perfectly honest. And what I would just want to simply say is, again, in light, what kind of struck me about what she said was that she started off her Twitter thread saying, well, this is me now blacklisted from any arts community within the Northeast. And I kind of find, and what needs to happen as a general society and community is for people not to fear that they'll have a bad reputation because they are out and being raped.
Yeah.
I can't stress that highly enough. And it's, again, in relevance to everything that's been happening in the wrestling world and clearly everything that's been happening recently. And I felt like it was my place to say this again because I have mentioned Tyneside quite frequently within these podcasts specifically.
Yeah.
And what I will say is, and again, I need to read more on it, so I'm not making any more direct statements about... I'm not trying to like start any revolution or anything because who am I to even do that? But what I'll say is what needs to happen is people need to get better and things need to be done about these people generally. And I briefly talked about this with you before we got on the podcast. I said about how one wrestling promotion, instead of just outright firing a guy, has sent him to therapy. And of course, there's some guys who, of course, wrestlers who have outright just been sacked because that's just, why would they be linked to anything like that? So what I just want to say is look into that. That's all I want to say. It's relevant because it's hitting quite close to home in the sense of a cinema that I have had some of my fondest memories of life in has been looped into all of this. So I just felt like it was necessary to make my voice known about the situation. Yeah. I am just because of how it was relevant in these podcasts. And what I think, it's just, again, I'm going to just keep repeating myself otherwise. We read people's stories, listen to what's being said, but I'd also say don't just be bandwagon jumping on things. Just generally don't be immediately going to extreme decisions. Read up on stuff. That's my point. Don't just see one tweet and immediately go into one opinion. Read up on stuff. So that's my point there. But I will spin back around as saying I am still for supporting independent cinemas and just cinemas generally. So yeah, I just want to... That's Dad Oscar out the way with. And I want to switch back around involving cinemas. Cinema in the UK has once again been delayed, from what I understand. Yeah. I think View is the 10th of July now, and I know Cineworld is the 31st of July. So
Tenet's back again.
Being pushed back again. Yeah. So I'm not going to say any dates anymore. I'm just going to outright say whenever cinemas are open, go and support them because
they'll need it after this.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're big supporters of cinema. Love it. We need to keep as a wrap up of all that point there, I like to think the main promotion of the Intermission Podcast is community, no matter what that be. Whether it be for our love of film, for our love of film, communication about film, our support for Black Lives Matter, our support amongst victims of any form of abuse, our support for smaller businesses. Just that's what I would like to make almost the point of this podcast, is to do that. And again, yes, they're not nice things to talk about, and I am not at all a qualified person to do so, but I like to make points like this in order for people to promote people to research more. I don't claim to be the encyclopedia. I claim to be the librarian to point you to the encyclopedia. There you go.
Nicely done. That was a nice little wrap-up then.
Jesus Christ. I don't want to make every week like this, but I like to make things a bit more... If things are of importance are coming to light, I kind of want to make, just...
Yeah, well, the more that happens, the more we have to talk about. So.
That's my point. As much as I love escapism, and I want this show to be a celebration of film and escapism, too much escapism can come across as being blind to it, I think, which is why I like to throw these out there. So, with that being said, I don't think I have anything to promote like you do, Robbie. No, I don't. Support the film Robbie made. Links will be in there. Support Pride, and all that lovely stuff. And next week, we will be talking about Apocalypse Now, the theatrical cut.
Okay. I'm sure that's the one I've got on DVD.
You probably got that. It's like 2.5 hours.
I'm sure it's the theatrical cut that I've got.
It's 2.5 hours. So
cool.
Yeah, and as far as I'm aware, the film isn't on any streaming sites, but you can rent it on the BFI player for like £3 something. So if you want to do that, there you go. Go for that. There'll be something on the Instagram, and that's another thing I just want to plug. Keep in touch. Mainly the Instagram, because the Twitter's there, but that acts as like just something else. But within the Instagram, that's where updates will be posted. There's a bonus clip from last week's episode that got cut, which involves Robbie and I discussing just generally most stuff. Me turning 25, birthdays.
Yes.
Filming, be like monopods. There you go. Go to that. It's on the Instagram page, as well as that's where I post things on there of where you can watch the films. Because I like to try to make this almost like a book club, a film club type of thing. Yeah. In a sense, because I think that's fun.
And feel free to message in as well. Feel free to DM the account.
That's right. If you can DM the account, and we can, if we get enough, we can do little answering statements or whatever, kind of what I did with the comment that Sam posted.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, either comment on the YouTube channel, DM the Instagram, or even tweet us, because I'll see it.
Yeah.
I think that's all I can think of to say. Yeah, Godfather Part II, banger of a film. Next week, Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm going to look forward to that. I've been wanting to watch Apocalypse Now so much the past few weeks, but I've been saving it so I could for when it comes closer to it. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's gonna be.
I've never seen it. I'm very excited.
Yeah, man. Right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Of course, you can, if you're listening on Spotify, go over to the YouTube channel because we're there as well. And if you watch it on the YouTube channel, go to the Spotify. I know we're on loads of others. I think we're on Apple Podcast.
Yeah, we're now on Apple Podcast. I saw it the other day. So you can listen to us here. Well, you're already listening, but...
So go anywhere you can get a podcast. We're
probably there, yeah.
And yeah, keep in touch with social media. There's links as well to follow us individually if you want to follow us individually on a account that we've got.
I'll get back to it in a year or so. I'm really bad for accepting follow requests. I'm sorry.
So don't have any high hopes for Robbie. Ever,
no. Don't have high hopes me generally in life. Just keep expectations low, and you'll never be disappointed. That's what I have to say.
That's your ending words.
Yeah, I won't say anything now for the rest of it.
Right, guys. Thank you for listening. Till next week. We shall see you later, and goodbye.
Bye. Love you.